one. What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of the Sports PSP podcast. I am your host, Sports PSP. Hope everyone is enjoying a fantastic Friday evening coming off work, school, whatever the case may be. Also, happy Memorial Day weekend. Shout out to our veterans. Shout out to our good men and women who fight for our country every single day. We cannot thank you enough for what you've meant and what you've done for us, your services. We appreciate you. But of course, Sports PSP podcast. I got the panel with me. BRF Sports in the building. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good, fellas. Doing good, fellas. Hey, I'm just happy to be here. Another Friday night, another chance to shine, do our thing. Always a pleasure to share the spotlight with you two fine gentlemen, and I'm ready to get this ball rolling.
Absolutely. And of course, we cannot do the Sports PSP podcast without Columbus, Georgia's own four-time college degree, our military man, the young Charles Barkley, as I always call him. Doesn't take himself too seriously, loves to make everyone laugh and make sure everyone has a good time. Undisputed world champ. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Up to 105. 105, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, congratulations, PSP. Hey, in the great words of George Jefferson, we move it on up, man. Keep
Yes.
on doing what you're doing. Uh, I'm damn proud of you, man. And look, what better way to pay tribute to our fallen soldiers better than a great podcast like the Sports PSP podcast, man. This is a hell of a way to start Memorial Day weekend, man. So I'm just happy to be here.
Absolutely. And for those celebrating Memorial Day weekend, please enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. Good barbecue, good food. If you're gonna drink, please drink responsibly. And also thank our great men and women for all their sacrifices, all their hard work. Again, thank you. Because without y'all, we wouldn't be doing the Sports PSP podcast. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing now. So thank you to our brave men and women. But fellas, we got to talk about the NBA playoffs. I know the Pacers Knicks game is going on right now, but we certainly can't ignore what happened game one. The New York Knicks had a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden, their hearts got snatched out of their chests. Neesmith with them 6 threes that he drained. Tyrese Halliburton with the shot, imitating Reggie Miller's choke celebration. I didn't even watch the rest of the game. I stopped watching it once the Knicks had a 16-point lead because I figured there was no way that Indiana was going to come back and win that game. Mitchell Robinson, what he was doing coming off the bench, rebounding, even with Jalen Brunson in foul trouble, they still had a 16-point lead. They missed some crucial free throws with Cat, OG, and Anunoby. I got to give a lot of credit to the Indiana Pacers. Rick Carlisle, the job that he has done with this team. We keep talking about Cat and his perimeter shooting. What about Miles Turner? Let's not discount Miles Turner with his perimeter shooting. Neesmith, those threes that he hit in that fourth quarter, he had a big game, 30 points as well. Tyrese Halliburton, who at one point by his own peers was considered the most overrated player, has been playing out of his mind in the playoffs. The Indiana Pacers, this is a team who went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, got swept by the Boston Celtics. They're looking to make amends. And if you look at Tyrese Halliburton in this postseason, averaging around 18.7 points, 9.5 assists, shooting 48.1% from the field, nearly 34% from three-point range. The Indiana Pacers could they pull off the upset? Could they beat the New York Knicks? I still have the New York Knicks winning this one in 6. because I think with the additions of Mikal Bridges and Cat, I think there will be enough for the New York Knicks if the New York Knicks can stay healthy. But right now, New York Knicks is gonna have to move on from that game one. They're gonna have to do everything they can to move on from that game one. Because if they make a mistake here in game two at the Garden, champ, the floor is yours.
Hey, nap time. It's like history just repeated itself. I feel like they just put me in a time machine and just transported me right back to 1995 when Reggie Miller was in the playoffs. Well, 94, excuse me. When Reggie
94.
Miller was in the playoffs and he just was flat out putting on a show. I mean, unfortunately, man, look, Naptown, Indiana did see a tragedy. The late great Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, rest in peace. But when you talk about Naptown as far as basketball, Indianapolis, they have been on a roll. You know, Caitlin Clark defeated our Atlanta Dream last night in a big game. Had a couple run in with Rye Howard. But exciting game nevertheless. Now you have Naptown in a conference championship game with their arch nemesis. Look, whoever said Tyrese Halliburton was overrated as far as his peers was concerned, I hope that you did that to try to motivate him. I hope that you did that to try to motivate him, but you wasn't being serious. Or that you felt like at times he could be too passive, because we saw that. At times he could be very, very, very passive. And sometimes his game is not exciting. People have compared him to John Stockton at a certain point. But I hope y'all did that to motivate him, because y'all lit a fire up under him. Y'all lit a towering inferno up under him. I don't think an early WWE Attitude match, an Inferno match, could have lit the fire that his peers lit up under him. Because if he takes game two in the Madison Square Garden and they got to go back to Indiana down 2-0, oh, man, it's going to be some trouble. And think about how much of a bust this year is going to be for the New York Knicks. I mean, you loaded up, and now is your chance. You got to ask yourself, hey, look, the time is always now. You can't wait. So, hey, whoever did that, I hope y'all was trying to motivate him in order to be more aggressive and not be as passive, because you lit a fire up under him, and it is blazing right now. And like I said, he's become the new Reggie Miller as of that game. In the great words of Little Siege from the late, great Biggie Smalls' crew, Junior Mafia, he upset New York like Reggie Miller. So that was the way he shot that shot to put them in overtime was amazing. It did the choke side just like Reggie Miller. Like I said, it's almost as if we're living the same life, living the same years at one time. We're living 2025 and 1994 all in the same year. Who would have thought we could have seen something like that once again? For New York, look, you got to tighten up. How you got to finish games. You got to finish. You have to. When you are up against a talented team like the Indiana Pacers, you have to put them out of their misery and you got to keep your foot down on the gas. You can't let up. And I think you got to ask yourself a few questions. Is it more so that Indiana won that game, or did the New York Knicks lose that game and was looking for just every reason to lose that game? You got to ask yourself that question, because there's no way that you're up by 16 points and you surrender that lead. Y'all got to tighten up, especially look. You got tonight. There's never a such thing, in my humble opinion, as a must win in a game two. But if there was ever a must win, this tonight for the Knicks is a must win. Because I believe if you have to go back to Indiana, then it's gonna get ugly, real ugly, real quick. It's gonna get uglier than the masterpiece sneakers, real quick, and you're gonna have to deal with the consequences. Because when you go to Indiana, it's very rowdy. The crowds are rowdy. I mean, it's a whole nother level of basketball when the Indiana Pacers are in a place like the conference championship. So tonight for New York, especially in the Garden, it's a must win.
Well, champ, you did mention that the Knicks really blew it or the Pacers really won it. Keep in mind, this is deja vu all over because the New York Knicks, remember, they came back from not one, 20-point leads against the Boston Celtics in games 1 and 2. And we
Mm-hmm.
gave the New York Knicks their credit for their heroics. Although you can look at the Boston Celtics, hey, over 100 threes that they attempted in that game, and they didn't even shoot the ball particularly well.
Mm-mm.
So you look at this one, I got to give the Pacers mad credit. Rick Carlisle, the job that he has done, and again, he used to coach in Indiana. He used to be the former head coach for the Indiana Pacers. He's familiar with Indiana, so I like it. Oh, also, big shout outs to our guy Jonathan Watson, the Sports for You podcast. Go also check him out on the Wrestling Podcast as well. Shout out to you, Mr. Watson. BRF, what are your thoughts about the Eastern Conference Finals between the Pacers and the Knicks?
I'll be honest. I honestly didn't expect anything less when you have two franchises with the history, particularly in the playoffs, as Indiana and New York. You expect them to you expect them to really kind of give it their all against each other to kind of take it there, to that next level. I mean, that game, like for it to turn on a dime the way it did, and Indiana pulling off that comeback, just Aaron Neesmith hitting threes, Tyrese Halliburton. Like, we can say what we want about, lighting the fire on them, like middle of the season, before like the Pacers really got it clicking. I mean, us, even though the players voted him the most overrated player, I didn't necessarily agree with that, but it was validated like middle of the season because like he would have some good games and have some bad games. Like he just wasn't like, I don't know, like the consistency just wasn't there for me. So the biggest reason why the Indiana Pacers are where they are right now, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, is the fact that Tyrese Halliburton has been consistent and has showed up, whether it's scoring or, his assist, being a playmaker, getting his teammates involved, just really running that offense like to a T. And he's really one of the biggest reasons why, if not the biggest reason why they're here, because he's really stepped up to really be the heart and soul of that team, knowing as he goes, they go. But and it's not just him. I mean, you got Pascal Siakam. Like I've said before, he's got playoff experience. He has a championship. He has that 2019 ring with the Toronto Raptors, so he's got playoff experience. You have Miles Turner, who's been in playoff situations before, who understands how to play in moments like this. So I mean, there you have your veteran guys there, and also with Neesmith and Andrew Nimard and TJ McConnell coming off the bench is like really one of the more underrated factors of this squad, with his ability to get his teammates involved, but yet still ability to his on ball defense, being able to get steals, being able to kind of wreak a little havoc on the defensive side of the ball. So TJ McConnell's performances for the team are like really unheralded and deserve praise as well. I mean, this was one of the reasons why I thought Indiana would give New York trouble, even though I picked New York to go, to get them in 7 games. This is why before we analyzed the series, I knew Indiana was the type of team that was going to give New York all types of problems because of what they present. They play. I mean,
Fast.
they match. Yeah, they play fast. That they give the New York Knicks fits. I mean, with a guy like Cat, with a guy like Jalen Brunson, they prefer the half court setting. They prefer running the offense. They prefer, they really prefer kind of like operating on a half court, kind of setting. Indiana, they can play half court, but their bread and butter, as we've seen in the playoffs, is being able to run out in the open and being able to just create the pick and rolls, the high screens, just everything. Indiana likes to run. They like to move. They are a mobile. They are a mobile team. They like to move. They do not like to stay still, and they're able to really create a lot of matchup problems with really particularly with their 3-point shooting with guys like Neymar, with guys like Aaron Nesmith. When they're hitting their threes, they create matchup issues from the standpoint of, if they're hitting their shots, you can't solely focus on Tyrese Halliburton. You can't really focus on him when other guys are getting involved and scoring the rock. So it really opens up a lot when more guys are getting involved, and just really kind of you know allow Tyrese Halliburton to really do his thing when you can't necessarily focus on him, to see more one-on-ones and not necessarily have to worry about playing off a screen, or playing off of double teams and stuff like that. So I'm that was like easily one of the most exciting. That was like, so like, I would say the most exciting 5 to 7 minutes of a game ending. Well, really, I'll say last 10 minutes. That final five of the fourth, and then that overtime. That was like 10 of the most exciting minutes I've seen in the playoffs this year, if and really in a while. Just you were just on the edge of your seat. You didn't know what was going to happen. You did not know what was going to happen. Aaron Nesmith stepping up big, but I think it's more. I think it's a little bit of both. As far as that question, did Indiana win it or did the Knicks lose it? It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. I mean, granted, I will say, I mean, because don't get it wrong. To have a lead like that and to lose it like that, you definitely lost focus. You definitely were out of rhythm. You were definitely out of sync. So you definitely have to put some of that on the Knicks. But at the same time, as Indiana Pacers, they saw an opportunity and they took it, and they took it, and they took it to the max. They gave them an inch. They took the whole mile, and now we're here in game two. They have a 1-0 lead, really kind of basically snatching the home court advantage from the Knicks, which is what you want to do in the first two games of a 7-game series like this. You want to snatch home court advantage. You want to at least give yourself a chance, knowing that you're gonna get at least 5 games. I mean, you have to take home court. You got to snatch it early, and that's exactly what the Indiana Pacers did. So I am definitely enjoying. I'm enjoying the physicality. I'm enjoying, like, it's almost like human chess being played with Rick Carlisle and Tom Thibodeau. It's just, this is, as a guy who grew up watching the Eastern Conference side of basketball more than the Western Conference side of basketball, it takes you back to like those times where Indiana was playing New York, or whether they were playing Chicago, or whether Chicago was playing New York, or it was New York going against Miami, or when the Charlotte Hornets were really good, or the Cleveland Cavaliers were really good back mid late '80s. I mean, it takes you back to a time where the Eastern Conference was just like where the Eastern Conference was like peak basketball, and it kind of takes you back. So seeing Indiana and New York being the Eastern Conference Finals representatives, it's just being the final two of the East. I mean, it brings you back a little bit, but we can just enjoy the fact that they're here and they're playing good basketball. But yeah, man, like Champ said, man, if I'm the New York Knicks, we got to turn up. We got to really kind of adjust some things, and we got to get better continually in this game too, because I won't necessarily say I won't say must win. I will say it's a game New York they need to get, because I mean, you can't. A lot of these teams got to understand, you don't want to go up 2-0 every time. You don't want to go down 2-0 every time. I mean, like, because most cases going down 2-0 is almost a death knell. So as much as I don't want to say it's a must win, if I'm the New York Knicks, I'm like, you don't want to go to Indiana. You don't want to go to the place formerly known as Conseco Fieldhouse for game 3 and a game 4, because like Champ said, especially in playoff settings, the Indiana Pacers fans are some of the most underrated fans in all of the NBA. The way they get their team hype, the way they get involved, they're a group of them. They're some of the most underrated fans, and really in all the sports, because playoff basketball in Indiana is like it's not like every other place. It's not like other places. It's different. With Indiana being the basketball haven that it is, I mean, it's playoff basketball in Indiana. It hits a little more. It's kind of like if I it's like playoff football in Green Bay, or it's like playoff baseball in places like Boston and New York and places like that. Man, it just hit different. It hit different. It hit on another level. So I was very, I mean, honestly though, even
Or
though,
Bills Mafia, because
oh
you
my,
know how
there,
die
Yeah.
hard.
exactly. But like, like Pacers fans, Bills Mafia are like right there as far as just like true blue, like ride or die fans. That no matter what's going on with their team, they're gonna ride with them. And yeah, like just playoff sports in towns like that just hit different because it means a little more to towns like that. So I'm anxiously anticipating the rest of this series. I want to see where they go. I want to see how each team adjusts to one another as far as like, because playoff basketball to me is the ultimate test of like you're playing against the best teams. Those teams are the ones that are really going to know how to attack your weaknesses. So it's just a matter of how you adapt and how you adjust. So I'm excited for what's to come. I hope we get seven. This series deserves to go 7 games. I mean, it's the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. I mean, it wouldn't feel right if this series didn't go 7 games. So I'm anticipating a well played series. I'm anticipating a lot of defense. I'm anticipating Tom Thibodeau and Rick Carlisle. I'm anticipating them to be in their bag for the series. I really am, as far as like how they adjust against each other, like that game of chess, man. I'm anticipating what they're gonna do, and I'm hoping this goes 7, and I'm just hoping for a fun series.
All I'm gonna say regarding that series, man. Hey, listen. People mentioned that the Knicks were kind of tired or fatigued. Listen, I love Thibodeau, but what is he known for with his reputation? Running players under the ground. And the only thing I liked about it, look, I may sound petty or salty. I cannot stand New York Knicks fans, man. Especially how the way they were celebrating when they won Game 6 against the Boston Celtics in the conference semifinals. I kept hearing from Knicks fans, "Go New York, go New York, go." I'm telling you, man, New York fans, them people, either them and Philadelphia fans, I can't decide which one is more ruthless. But I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. I'm not exaggerating. But would I like to see Indiana or a small market team like Indiana, Oklahoma City, which we're gonna get into in a second, win? Yes. Because them die-hard fan bases, just like with Bills Mafia, I would love to see the Buffalo Bills win a Super Bowl. Not just because of that team, but you won't find a classier fan base than Bills Mafia. I don't think any of us can argue or dispute that.
No, indeed not.
Agreed.
Yeah. But fellas, let's talk about the other conference finals, the Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shea Gilgeous Alexander won the league MVP, deservedly so. Oklahoma, they have the series up 2-0. Do you see the Thunder sweeping the Timberwolves? BRF.
Nah, I don't see the Thunder sweeping Minnesota. I don't see the Thunder sweeping Minnesota. Although I am not surprised this is Tua going back to Minnesota, because if there's any fan base I do not want to see come playoff time, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder fan base come playoff time. They are about as loud and as disruptive as they come, but they do it in a way that you kind of like I talk about with Bills Mafia. They do it in a way that you can get behind and you can root for. And man, when they have particularly when they have like their whiteout games, it's like some their whiteout games are like some of the coolest games I've ever seen on the television screen. Just seeing those fans, how they just get involved like that, man. It's something to behold. I'm not surprised that the Thunder got the first two, just because I just kind of the Thunder at home. It's like well, most teams are kind of like that, but it's almost like it's different with the Thunder. The Thunder at home are like they damn near unbeatable when they're in Oklahoma City, and Minnesota pretty much found out the hard way in the first two games. Like they no team in the league right now plays defense like Oklahoma City. I don't think any team right now really moves the ball around like Oklahoma City. And Shea Gilgeous Alexander has really he it's man. You could talk about that man all you want to as far as his foul baiting and his free throws and stuff like that. Take all that out. He is establishing himself as one of the elite players in the NBA, whether people like it or not. He is establishing himself. He's one of the smoothest guys in the league operating offense with the ball in his hands. Like he's just smooth and he's cool, calm, collected. He's a calculated individual with the ball in his hands. He's one of the smoothest cats in the game. Um Jalen Williams, I've always been a Jalen Williams fan. I was happy to see that he made third team. He made third team All NBA today. Shout out to Jalen Williams for making third team All NBA. SGA of course made first. Um, just seeing that Oklahoma City Thunder team, the way Sam Presti's built that squad with the talent they have, I got them beating Minnesota to get to the NBA Finals. I just feel like what they do and what they bring to the table is just not a lot of teams have that. They're suffocating. They're suffocating on defense. It's like they don't stop on offense. They're gonna find a way to make that extra pass, get that extra cut, open lanes to the basket, and it's not just SGA. It's not just Jalen Williams. Like I said, I said before the playoffs started, Chet Holmgren is going to be an X factor for the squad. I said before the playoffs started because he gives you a really good offensive big, and he also gives you one of the best. He's one of the best defenders slash rim protectors in the NBA. So he just gives another level of just ferociousness under the basket. And Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, Stein, they're deep, man. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they are a deep squad, and they're just gonna be hard to beat. I don't think Oklahoma City is gonna sweep them. I don't think they're gonna sweep them because Minnesota, if they can match them in anything, they can't match with bodies, and they can't get guys on the court. They're a pretty deep squad themselves. So I definitely don't think this is going to be a sweep. I could easily see Minnesota getting game 3 and game 4 and going back to OKC tied 2-2. I could easily see it because Minnesota's a different animal at home too. And I think what the home crowd really works for these home squads is not the stars, it's the role players. It's hyping up the role players and getting them into the game. So with Minnesota, like, don't be surprised if you see guys like Jaden McDaniels, if you see guys like Nikhil Alexander Walker, Nas Reed, the role players, the guys that are either starting or might not necessarily be the one or the two, but just those unsung guys. Like, don't be surprised if you see guys like that in game 3 and game 4 really level themselves back up to be able to really tie that series and take it back to OKC down 2-2. So I don't think the Oklahoma City Thunder is going to sweep them. Although I am picking them to win this series, I'm expecting that one to go at least 6-2 because I think Minnesota's too good of a squad to just roll over and die. I don't see that happening.
Quick question for you, while before PSP rejoins us. I want to
Okay.
ask you in particular this question, and I'll ask PSP when he comes back. If
Okay.
SGA wins this NBA title on top
Okay.
of this MVP that he has, and he wins Finals MVP, is he the new face of the league at this point? Although he's from Canada.
That's an interesting question, champ.
That is a
Because
really
everybody's
good
ready to
question.
crown. Oh, my bad, BRF. Because
No, no,
everybody was ready
no.
to crown Anthony Davis, but you have to ask yourself, although he's from Canada, if he wins this year, especially with and I hate to be repetitive, especially with him being in that small market, doing something that not even the big three could do. KD, James Harden, and
Russell
Russell
Westbrook,
Westbrook, and not to mention Serge Ibaka.
Ibaka.
Ubaka. Sorry, I can't. I watch too much Star Wars. I'm sorry, but yeah,
You
with
only know
Serge.
Serge. You only know Serge Ibaka not only because of his play, because at one point he used to date Carrie Hilson.
Yeah, but yeah.
Mm.
But Serge,
We do not need to be talking about epic fumbles on this podcast right now. He's got to live with that. He's got to live with that.
hey, we talk about peanut butter skins, but I'll digress.
You digress.
But yeah, it's
And she a Georgia girl too, but we'll move on. We'll keep it pushing.
hey man, ain't that like Georgia peaches? But let's get back to the next at hand. Is he the face of the NBA? Although he's Canadian. Now we saw this before with Steve Nash being one of the faces, but
Right.
unfortunately he played with in the Kobe era, Kobe and LeBron era. He was not the face. So does a Canadian-born player have a chance to be the face with SGA if he wins the finals and the MVP on top of winning the MVP this year?
I think there's a
He's
possibility.
I I do too. I think it's a possibility. Still got Ant, even though he got. I mean, he hated Jason Tatum because I thought Jason Tatum was the guy they were ready to crown at the face of the NBA. You still got Jason Tatum. You still got Luka. You still got Jokic. You still have Giannis. I mean, there's like there are too many. There are too many like superstars in the league right now. But I tell you what, if SGA after winning MVP, if he wins the title and the Finals MVP, his stock is like boosted even more to where you're going to see him in more advertising, more commercials. So don't be shocked if he really if the notoriety goes up even more if he takes Oklahoma City to a chip and wins Finals MVP. Don't be. I think he's got a shot.
I think so too. And I was watching. I don't know if you checked it out, Champ or BRF. Jay Williams. He talked about how the difference between American basketball and the European basketball, and I agree with everything that Jay Williams said. How there's so much complacency with American basketball compared to the European basketball players, how tough physicality, how the European players are so further advanced, how fundamentally sound they are with the game of basketball. I think with SGA, yes. Because with Jokic, as much as I love Jokic, I still consider him the best player in the NBA. Jokic doesn't seem like he wants to be on commercials or any of that type of stuff. You see SGA with Shed Holmgreen and Jalen Williams. As with Giannis, yeah, he's still up there. Luka is still up there, especially with the market that he's in right now with Los Angeles. With SGA, I think it'll help given the fact that he plays in a small market in Oklahoma City. Sam Presti, who you also argued, champ, not only with James Dolan, how much it would mean to him winning a championship. I think it would mean a lot more to Sam Presti because before you've had numerous Western Conference Finals appearances, an NBA Finals appearance. That's the greatest team that you had that never captured a championship with Durant, Westbrook, Harden, all three of them bona fide first ballot Hall of Famers, MVPs of their own. So to win a championship with SGA, with Chet Holmgren, with Williams, and for you to still continue this blueprint of developing these young players and making Oklahoma City, because again, when you think of Oklahoma, you really mostly think about the football from the Oklahoma Sooners, but now you're paying more attention to Oklahoma City. So yeah, I do think so. But still, BRF and Chip, I think whether or not they still want to make Anthony Edwards the face of the NBA, even though Anthony Edwards has said he doesn't want to be the face of the NBA. People just love Anthony Edwards because of his swagger, his attitude, the way he can clap back at people, the way he talks trash, the way is electric to watch. He can give you 30 and 40, and he can also just troll people. That's what they love about with Anthony Edwards, plus the personality side. And they've tried to work either with Anthony Edwards. It was supposed to be Zion as the face of the NBA, but for whatever reason, Zion with the injuries and Of course, the other things off the court, nah. So, and with Ja Morant, and look, we had the conversation, champ, with Babyface heel. I believe Ja is a tweener. You have him as a tweener, although compared to me and BRF, you're leaning more towards the heel part because, again, some of the decisions that he's made, both on and off the court. So I think with SGA, he definitely has a chance to be the face of the NBA because, again, small market, no off the court issues, seems like a team's guy. Every single time you see him around his teammates, when he's doing commercials or when he's doing interviews, it's great for basketball, especially for Oklahoma City.
Yes. And that team needs an undisputed face. Well, I would say the league, excuse me. The league needs an undisputed face. Previously, it was LeBron. You know, he's carried the torch for a lot of years, but you need an undisputed face. And what better way than for you to become the face than to win the MVP, the NBA Finals, and the Finals MVP all in the same year, and from a small market. You got to think about it. Usually, outside of LeBron, and I'll say Shaq. Usually, the face of the NBA is usually from a big, huge market. You know, you
Yes.
think about Magic and Bird. You know,
You
two
think about Michael, Chicago.
Chicago. When you think about Shaq and Kobe, the Lakers. When you think about, you know, like I said, outside of LeBron and Shaq, the face has always been in a big market. I think that will be huge for the NBA to have the undisputed face in a small market like in Oklahoma City, where, like you just said, it's pretty much football. It's Boomer Sooner and the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and then who's playing in the Red River rivalry this year. That's what it's all about. But for you to cut into that, and people want to pay attention to what's going on that hardwood, that basketball court there, and for you to do something not even the big three could do. Not even the big three could do in Durant, Harden, and Westbrook. I mean, and they tried to patchwork that thing a lot after Kevin Durant and James Harden left. Remember, they tried to bring in Carmelo Anthony, tried to bring in Paul George, tried to keep Steven Adams, tried to bring in Carmelo Anthony, tried to do a whole lot of other things.
Chris Paul.
Yes. You tried to do a whole lot of things in order to recapture that magic, but to finally do that without the quote unquote super team, and as the NBA is transitioning out of the super team era, that will be something special.
Yes, because now and gives owners a little bit more control, a little bit more leverage. Because again, we've seen all these super teams, and shout out to Luis because he mentioned a great point though about with Giannis. We don't know what's gonna happen with Giannis and Antetokounmpo, champ. Don't worry, BRF will be back. He had to leave, take care of something real quick. Understandable. I think Giannis should deserve more culpability and more accountability, to Luis's point, because again, they've made acquisitions for him. The Damian Lillard trade. Okay, Adrian Griffin, they fired him. They replaced him with Doc Rivers. As I've said before with Doc Rivers, he's got more opportunities than the Kardashians have gotten as far as with men. But do you think Giannis deserves more accountability?
No. My thing is he's played his tail off for this team, number one. And the thing is, when you strip away stability, when you have a revolving door in your locker room as far as coaching is concerned, you can have a revolving door in players. We've seen that happen several times over. You saw the Showtime Lakers, although their core was Magic Johnson, Kareem, and James Worthy. You saw a lot of guys were in and out. You saw Adrian Dantley was part of that at one point. You saw that Bob McAdoo was part of it at one point. You saw AC Green. You saw Klay Thompson's father was part of it. You saw Barbara Scott. You saw Norm Nixon. You saw a lot of different guys that was part of that Showtime Lakers team. But for the most part, it was once they got stability in the coaching with Pat Riley, that was the way they was able to sustain that winning. But when you're firing coaches at a rate of one every couple of years, you're not going to have that stability. Plus, you have to be smart enough to realize, although getting a Damian Lillard is good offensively, what did it do for you as far as staying true to the core
Defensively.
of your team? The core of this team was defense.
And you lost that with Drew Holiday.
Yes, and he was an asset when he went to Boston. So
Absolutely. Which, by the way, the following year they ended up winning. A couple of years ago, they ended up winning the championship.
exactly. So yes, you can have a big acquisition, but you have to remember the identity of your team. And the thing is, hey, you have to ask yourself, was getting Dame at that point in his career really the move? Or should you have moved to get another role player in order to help out your team? Because I understand the star power that he brings, but you have to understand this. Like I said, you have to stay true to the identity of your team. And like I said, bringing in, firing the coach who bought you a championship, who not only bought you a championship, took the Atlanta Hawks, who did not have an undisputed star on that team, to a conference finals where they had four all-stars. Al Horford, DeMonte Carroll, Kyle Korver, Jeff Teague. To take a team that had no undisputed superstar to a
Number
conference
one
final.
seed.
Say again?
Number one seed in the Eastern Conference Finals.
During the LeBron era where he was just wrecking shop in the East.
Mm-hmm.
So you were able to bring that team out of obscurity. Unfortunately, the very next year, you lost DeMonte Carroll and that team kind of fell out of sorts. But for you to take that team who Atlanta, outside of the Dominique Wilkins era, has a slight up and down history, for you to do that for that team, to bring something to that town and that city as far as basketball was amazing. Then you go and finish the job in Milwaukee with Giannis without another top 75 player, without another superstar, without another megastar. And for Giannis to have one of the best closeout games, arguably in NBA history, as far as the finals goes, that's nothing short of spectacular. And for him to be out within the next 2 years of that is kind of weird. Then you hire Adrian Gershwin. He doesn't make it past the first half of the season. He doesn't make it even past that. Then you go and get Doc Rivers, who has his own history of, let's say, mediocre coaching, to say the least. So with all of this revolving door of coaching, making bad personnel moves, not doing things to fit your scheme, and not bringing in the right player in order to do something with Giannis and not waste his prime years in the East, that's more of an organization issue than it is a player issue. You didn't understand your personnel. You didn't understand what Coach Budenholzer brought to this team, and you tried to turn this team into something that it was not, which was an offensive powerhouse, when in reality it was a defensive team. You just so happen to have one of the best bigs of this era when it comes to Giannis.
And also too, they lost Brooke Lopez. That was a big loss for them.
Yes,
because he was a guy who can block shots and who also can stretch the floor and also worked on his three. And trust me, I watched Brooke Lopez during his time with the Brooklyn Nets. Losing him, and he was nowhere near the defender he was in Brooklyn the way he was in Milwaukee. Losing him, that was a big plus.
Yes. So you're not understanding your personnel and the identity of your team. That's more of a general manager being too analytical, so to speak, than they need to be. And that is why that team is struggling at this point. And look, I don't know where Giannis is going to go. I'm hoping that he sticks with this team and brings another championship to that small market, because in my humble opinion, that's what the NBA needs at this point, is for small market teams to win. That's like I'm hoping for Indiana Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder finals. I don't care what I'm going to watch it. I don't care what the ratings say, but you need small market teams to win in order to show the people, hey, it doesn't matter who has the fattest pockets. It matters about personnel move. It matters about general manager. It matters about knowing your players. It matters about ownership. it has a lot to do with the players, but it has a lot to do with the front office as well. And if any team showed you that over the course of years, it was the San Antonio Spurs. And ironically, Coach Budenholzer and Becky Hammond, who's a two-time champion with the Las Vegas Aces, back to
All of
back.
them from the Popovich coaching tree.
All of them came from the Popovich culture. So you fire someone from the Popovich culture who knew nothing but stability, and you fire him. Then you just go through a revolving door. I blame that more so on the general manager and the owner of the team rather than Giannis. Because one thing that a lot of great players had in common, whether it was Jordan, whether it was Magic, whether it was Kareem, whether it was Kobe, all of those players had one thing in common, and that was stability. When they were at their best, I would say, when they were at their best, and that was stability at the coaching. Stability. And I think that's what a lot of these great players are missing nowadays is stability in the culture, to be able to grow with your coach, to be able to grow with your players, to understand, hey, I might lose a player, but I know once we bring him in this culture, that this coach is going to be able to coach him up and bring him into the culture. So, yeah, that's what I think a lot of these great players these days are missing. A lot of good coaching that will bring them into the culture and make sure that they are prepared in the way that they're needed. Because some of these players do have baggages from other teams. They do have baggage. And what better way to bring them in than to have a coach that has won a championship to say, hey, I know how to win. I know what we need to do to win. This is the culture this is the part of the culture that you need to embrace.
Problem is, Cham, a lot of these teams nowadays copycatting, and they're trying to do something like some of the other teams are doing, and that doesn't work out for you. You got to do something that best fits your identity. And apparently, that's what Milwaukee forgot. They forgot the defensive part. I want to read some chats right here. Shout out to the amazing podcast, and also please go shout out to the girl Nessa. Does a great job on the Sports for You podcast and also the wrestling podcast. Shout out to the girl Nessa. Would love to have you at one point on the Sports PSP pod. But fellas, let's continue on with basketball, man. Of course, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. I mean, there was the foul by Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese got upset, was approaching Caitlin Clark, had to be restrained by teammates. Both of them downplayed the situation when they were discussing it. And Ryan Clark and RG3. RG3 went on his podcast and he said that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. Ryan Clark went on the Pivot podcast and he talked about RG3. He talked about how he wasn't raised, how he doesn't really understand Black women in terms of how they go through, how they feel and stuff. And he mentioned about his wife. I was afraid this was going to happen. I felt like it was going to happen, champ. I could just sense from a mile away, BRF, I could just sense it was going to happen because something with Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, one little thing, just like that, and we're having a conversation. And I'm glad that the WNBA is getting coverage and getting attention, but this is for the wrong reasons. And look, champ, we discussed this off the air. We talked about how there have been other fights, how there have been other calls, and they're not paying enough attention to that. To me, that's really nothing between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Has anyone forgotten the LA Sparks Detroit Shock brawl back in 2008? Remember that? That was far worse. And people have lost sight of that, but because it's the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, Chicago Sky, Angel Reese, the rivalry between these two going back to their days in college, it's still going to be a conversation. And yes, Angel Reese, the Caitlin Clark rivalry, that's great, but what about other things surrounding the WNBA? You mentioned, Champ, there's a big game tomorrow between the Fever and what? The New York Liberty, the
Yes.
reigning NBA champions, Breonna Stewart.
Sabrina
So, so
Ionescu, Natasha
go on.
Cloud, Jacqueline Jones, Jonquel Jones.
There's
Uh,
far more things to discuss, far more important things than this right here. And regarding RG3 and Ryan Clark, did I like the fact that Ryan Clark brought up RG3's wife? No, I don't. I felt like I felt like Ryan Clark, if you want to make a point, just don't bring up the wife, kids, none of that stuff. Because if you bring that up, that's an ultimate no. Obviously, no. Chad, you even told me before, hell, you get your ass whooped if you bring up the wife, kids, all that type of stuff.
these days, even worse.
Damn.
I mean, hey, look, let's just keep it. Let's just keep it a buck. People don't throw hands no more, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll leave it at that.
But RG3, did you check out RG3's tweets with all the
Stop! Don't do that. Don't.
no, but I'm just
Look. RG3, you need to stop. Number one, that's I don't. I'm gonna keep it funky. But back to what you were saying about basketball.
the thing I hate about it, Chad, is the fact that we're forgetting and not paying enough attention to the WNBA for all the other good reasons, the other good players. Agent Wilson, you talked about how could a dynasty with the Las Vegas Aces. You talked about who's going to be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Can Asia Wilson win another MVP Defensive Player of the Year? There are so many other things that we could talk about, yet we're talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. That, to me, that play, that was nothing. We've seen far worse things in the WNBA. I just mentioned the brawl between the Detroit Shock and LA Sparks. Look, no, I mean, just go watch the video of Candace Parker because she could fight now.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with Ron Clark and RG3, it's really unfortunate. And I hate to say this, Champ, it's us as black people. And how is this going to help out the WNBA? What do we gain? What does the WNBA gain or benefit from? I feel like there are far more important things we should talk about the WNBA. But again, with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, if had it not been for their platforms, nobody would be paying enough attention to this.
If you really want me to be honest with you, and I made a video about this, and me and you had a discussion, I believe that a lot of media outlets, a lot of content creators that are not going about this the right way, I will say, I believe they're exploiting the WNBA just for clicks and views.
Yeah.
Because the thing is this, Kiki Ariafrin almost got into a fight in her debut. If you really look at it, if you go, look, I follow the WNBA. I follow her tunnel. When the WNBA players come out the tunnel with their outfits on, I follow that. I follow Overtime. I follow She Got Game. I follow WNBA Got Game. I follow all of that on social media. When Sonia Citron got bulldozed by Brittany Griner, they made a meme about that. Let me say that again. When Sonia Citron, the rookie from the Washington Mystics, got bulldozed on a screen by Brittany Griner, who plays for our Atlanta Dream, they made a meme about that. And everybody was in the comments just as laughing and being joyful and playing around. When Marina Mabrey got into it with someone, everybody was, but that's just how she is. When they were setting a hard screen, even when they set a hard screen on who can be one of the new faces of the WNBA on Paige Beckers when Nafisa Correa was backing her down and kind of strong-arming her. People was like, welcome to the WNBA. Why can't we have that same energy when it comes to Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark? Why? It's basketball. People are using this to push their own narratives. People are using this to push dumb, you-know-what narratives, which have nothing to do with basketball. And these are new fans that don't watch basketball. These are new fans that don't watch basketball on both sides. You just can't claim one side is both sides is perpetuating bull jive, and that is what's messing up the game. Right now, what we should be talking about is this. We should be talking about Nafisa Correa coming back with a vengeance. We should be talking about Asia Wilson, and then it's that dynasty in trouble. We should be talking about the potential of the Washington Mystics having not one, but 2 Rookie of the Year candidates with Sonia Citron and Kiki Ariafrin. Not to mention, the only reason why they're not even better than they are now is Georgia Amore is not there. She got injured in the preseason. They could potentially have a big 3 for years to come. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about how Brittany Griner, big ups to BRF Sports, how that front court in Atlanta, they on demon time, as BRF Sports said. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about the stories that's going to take the WNBA into the stratosphere. We're not even talking about the fact that their biggest acquisition in the form of DeWanna Bonner, that being the Indiana Fever, doesn't have but 9 points this year. How those 7 points against the Chicago Sky was the highlight of the year, because outside of that game, she only has 2 points. And she was supposed to be the one to come in and be the difference maker for this team, along with Aaliyah Boston, Casey Mitchell, and Caitlin Clark herself. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about one foul that has happened in each and every single WNBA game. And we're making it into something that it's not. And the main players, the main pieces in this game, the 2 queens of this game, are downplaying it in the media, while everybody's, including the mainstream media, is sitting up there running their mouth about it. Like I said, are we really trying to watch the WNBA in order to put women's sports on a new plateau? In order to make it so where we have $1 million players in that sport? Are we really trying to advertise bring out the best in these women so that during the collective bargaining agreement, they can have something else to talk about other than this? Or are we just going to... Oh, my bad.
Apparently not, champ, because of all the reasons that you've mentioned. It's just driving. Why I'm so frustrated, champ. It's just upset because, again, we could be talking about all those things that you're mentioning, but yet still we keep talking about this. Yeah. How does this help out the brand? How does this help out women's sports in general? That doesn't do a damn thing. I mean, the way they treated Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, damn, it was like they cut in a WWE promo or something.
Again, it doesn't help the game. They're not even talking about the potential of a big 4 out there in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Sparks have the potential to have a big 4, Kelsey Plum, Rakia Jackson, Hamby, and Cameron Brink, the Cameron Diaz of the WNBA. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about that one thing, that one foul. And have you noticed mainstream media curse every last one of them outside of that story, have not talked about anything in the WNBA outside of that? They ain't even talk about Paige Becker's debut and how she drew and how that team drew over 600,000 viewers in her debut, in her first 2 games. Not on the Caitlin Clark level, but it's getting there. That's what we should be talking about. Instead, we're talking about a foul that both players have downplayed, have made into a race issue, have made into issues that we don't have no business talking about. New fans on both sides just now watching the WNBA, and they're trying to turn it into their own little narratives and everything like that. And the whole beef between RG3 and Ryan Clark is just perpetuating it the entire time. Why are you talking about this still? It's a foul. Get over it. Move on. It's a foul. Like I said, when Sonya Citron got bulldozed by Brittany Griner, go to WNBA Got Game. I love following that page. Go to it if you're watching. Go to it, and you'll see they made an entire meme about it. They made an entire meme about it. I mean, it's funny stuff going all over the internet when it comes to these WNBA players and them getting in the scuffles on the court, them being very, very physical. The WNBA is right now. Is what we are missing, what pure basketball fans say they are missing at this point. The physicality, the playing hard every game, the going out there just with that grit and that grind. That's what the WNBA is. Everything that we say we're missing in the WNBA. But instead, we want to take this one story and blow it up every single time. Look, I'm going to make this comparison, and I made this comparison on, I think it was our show, BRF. It's kind of like gangster rap. It's only so much controversy that you can live off of before the talent has to take over. And if all you got is the controversy, then eventually the sport is going to die down. Because what's going to happen if one of these great players get hurt? What happens if Angel Reese gets hurt? What happens if Caitlin Clark gets hurt? And the only thing that you base this narrative around is that rivalry. Then that's the only thing you based it around. Not realizing that you have a two-headed monster, possibly a three-headed monster at the Washington Mystics. You have that potential. The WNBA, here's the thing. The WNBA does not need controversy. It doesn't need controversy in order to sell. You need to showcase these young women's talent. And if you don't believe they have talent, look at the fact that Asia Wilson sold out her shoes in less than 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Yeah. And also
that
you mentioned
was a hit.
And also, Chip, you mentioned Paige Bueckers' WNBA debut, 639,000 on Ion.
Exactly. And the arena sold out. Dallas we should be talking about all of these things, but instead, you could even be talking about the Seattle Storm, which I'm looking over my shoulder, which I'm looking over my computer desk in order to see it right now. You could even be talking about how the Seattle Storm can make a run for it. But instead, all they want to sell in the media is controversy. You can't sell controversy forever. You can't. Because the thing is, what's happening is this. And the reason why I say you can't keep selling controversy over talent is this. Chicago Sky are not very good. They're not. They've been exposed these last 2 games. They've been exposed. That team is terrible. And I know people are going to point right to Angel Reese, but that entire team is terrible. They don't have the camaraderie and they don't have the continuity that they did last year under Coach Witherspoon. They don't have Kennedy Carter or Marina Mabry anymore. The point guard, yes, they don't have that. And it looks like that they did a bad job. They do a bad job when Angel Reese and Camila Cardozo are both on the floor. It's like you only need one big. You don't need 2 bigs on the floor of that caliber because they're the same player. So is this really going to be a rivalry for the foreseeable future, considering how terrible they are? No, indeed not. So guess what? You're going to have to sell talent now. And your opportunity is tomorrow. Shout out to Flash because he told me about that. Because I said firsthand on our pod, BRF, the game of the year early in the year was going to be the Indiana Fever versus the New York Liberty, the defending champions, because the New York Liberty is stacked and the Indiana Fever is stacked. And this could be a preview of something great in the playoffs. That's what we should be talking about. You're not going to be able to sell the Chicago Sky versus Indiana rivalry. The Chicago Sky is not that good. They're not. And that's no knock or no shot at Angel Reese or none of those good players on that team. But they have a new coach. They have a new system. They're getting used to it. And guess what? The players are not in tune with that system as of yet. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. So you're not going to be able to sell the WNBA on this quote unquote rivalry like you thought you were going to do. Guess what? You're going to have to reach in that bag just like David Stern did, just like Paul Tagliabue did in the NFL, and you're going to have to sell your stars and your new ones that are incoming. You're going to have to sell the Rookie of the Year race. You're going to have to sell the fact that the WNBA has never had a co-Rookie of the Year ever in its history, and the fact that they can not only have one this year, they can have them both from the same team. You're going to have to sell people on the fact that maybe, just maybe, New York has a dynasty on their hands. Maybe that the Las Vegas Aces dynasty is over. Oh, not to mention Asia Wilson's a free agent next year. Where's she going to be with the new collective bargaining agreement? This is the stuff that you should be talking about, not a foul that we've seen. And the fact of the matter is that wasn't even the worst foul over the weekend.
That was nothing.
That was nothing. That was okay. It is what it was. But like I said, the media itself keeps exploiting this rivalry, and it's not a rivalry anymore because the Chicago Sky is not that good of a team. Do I believe that Angel Reese will make another All-Star game this year once she get used to that system? Yes, because it's fan voting. Everybody's going to get behind you regardless. So she's going to be in another All-Star game this year regardless, I believe. Hey, could I be wrong? Yes. But the thing is this. You can't sell the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever like you sold the Boston Celtics versus the Philadelphia 76ers because the Sky is not that good. So you're going to have to reach in your bag and start selling to the public a lot of these other players that you have and all of the potential that you have in these other players. And the time is now. The time is now. And the thing is, you have a large market like Los Angeles that you can tap into. You have a great team out there. You have Washington, D.C. with the Washington Mystics. They have a big two right now, could turn into a big three. You have Paige Beckers, who is a national champion. You're not even focusing on her because you're so busy focused on this foul. You're not even focused on the fact that the Phoenix Mercury, they're a darn good team right about now, and their new acquisition in the offseason. You're not focused on any of those things. You're strictly focused on that one thing. And notice this, like I said, the media is exploiting this. Notice this. They're not talking about any of these things. The minute that foul situation was over, they stopped talking about the WNBA. That just goes to show you how irresponsible the media is. And I will rest that case right now.
Well, not only irresponsible, champ, to say is irresponsible would be an understatement. I would say reckless. Because again, the reason why reckless applies because again, you can show the talent, but instead you chose not to, but you want to chose one foul, which wasn't even that hard of a foul. It wasn't even that egregious. Now, if there were like a more physical foul, if it were a flagrant 2 champ, if there were even punches thrown or something like that, yes, we could understand. We would talk about it, champ. We would talk about it. But this foul wasn't nothing. And I just hate the way, and as you perfectly articulated, far more other things that we could discuss. And far more we could do for the women in our sports. Champ, I'm afraid, though, for tomorrow's game, I hope that game between the New York Liberty and Indiana Fever is going to be as advertised as you and Flash mentioned. Because if not, and if we're just going to find something, we're going to probably ignore it. We're not going to pay enough attention to the WNBA. And if something happens, it's only because of controversy.
And it shouldn't be that way. Right now, we should be talking about this buildup as one of the biggest games of the season because everybody is expecting, and we even talk about it on our pod. We cover the WNBA a lot, the big three, the other big three. So I'm going to just be real. We cover that a lot. We've talked about it a bunch. And for the WNBA and ESPN and these sports leaders not to be building it up like guys like myself, like guys like BRF, like guys like Flash, like guys like even you, Sports PSP. That is a shame. You're trying to surround this thing. You're doing a disservice to these young women and their game.
And you're also doing a disservice to fans who actually are trying to learn about the WNBA. But the more you continuously not give enough coverage regarding the game, you're doing everyone a disservice. And Champ, I understand, as you told me, it's not fair. But what have you always told me before with double standards and other things?
Yeah, double standards are look that double. I have, like I said, I have no problem with the double standards because we live with them every day. If you want to talk about double standards, and we talk since we're on the subject of Memorial Day, hey, I was in the Army. It's always double standards when you're in the Army. But the thing is, the goal is not to promote a lot of bull jive. It's to promote these women and their talent, which they have a lot of in the WNBA. And the thing is, we should be talking about her tunnel. Do y'all realize what her tunnel is? It's kind of like basketball meets the runway. You watch her tunnel, BRF? Yeah, go to
I
her.
have to look it up.
Yeah, look. If you're watching right now, go to her tunnel. It's all the WNBA. People keep talking about Angel Reese walking down that aisle, strutting. Go to her tunnel on social media and watch it because it shows what the WNBA players, what they be wearing, how they be styling, how they come into the arena. They show all of that. That's what they should be advertising, just like in the NBA. When them dudes come in there with them ugly ass shoes on and them suits on and stuff like that, show it exactly how we show it with them. Show it. So let's do that. Advertise her tunnel. Show them the social media pages. Show them where they can follow. Show them how they can keep up with the players. Showcase these players. Showcase these players going into their community. Tell everybody that the fact that WNBA League Pass is only $34 a year. $34.
Just $34?
Yes, $34 flat a year.
Good, because I'm gonna buy that.
Buy it. Buy it. Because if you pay for it by the month, it's $12 a month. So guess what? That's what we should be talking about. We should be advertising League Pass. We should be making documentaries about these players. We should be having team documentaries about how the Liberty came to be last year, how they dethroned the Las Vegas Aces, how they did that. That's what we should be doing, advertising the sport. It's only so much controversy that you can live off of before it eventually goes away. And then you have to live off talent again. The WNBA, when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese first hit the scene, they need to say this is our biggest opportunity in order to market the league, in order to make sure that we're paying attention, in order to make sure that we have 24-hour coverage, in order to make sure that we list the trades that's going on, in order to make sure that we're paying attention to the collective bargaining agreement, to make sure that we're putting out every single sellout that they have so they don't lose money, to put the word out on the ticket sales, to put the word out on every little thing that they had, to put the word out on the biggest game, to put the word out on Paige Beckers versus Caitlin Clark, the rookie of the year, the potential rookie of the year versus the potential league MVP in late June. That's what we should be putting the word out. It's only so much controversy you could sell before eventually you have to rely on talent. And when that talent is no longer there and you're still living off controversy, then guess what? Eventually conversations die out. Don't believe that. Look at what happened to Death Row Records.
BRF, is there anything you want to add to the conversation, my brother?
I feel like the whole Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. I just feel like all that is just like, I don't know. I feel like if the bias is already predisposed and you already you're already on the side, I feel like this does really nothing to really cause a healthier conversation. Um, I mean, it's a shame it's gotten to this point because we remember the draft last year. Remember how hyped it was. I mean, we remember like you know going into last season like the amount of talent that was like leaving college basketball to come into the WNBA was nothing short of just we were saying like this could finally be the draft class that really kind of pushes it over and really takes things by the horns. But every time something happens, it's like I don't know. It's like it's unnecessary drama. Just it's a lot of it unnecessary. And like with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, like I've seen some postings and stuff. People look like talking about like how this is not a rivalry and everything. Like with how Caitlin Clark is kind of like really really kind of separated herself from Angel Reese. And so, people are like, oh, well, look at Caitlyn compared to her. This is not a rivalry. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, I saw somebody made this point on one of the shows. Is like there have been rivals as far as you have like the one superstar, and then you have like the star that's like not necessarily at that talent as an individual, but still like go back to Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. I mean, like that wasn't. I mean, as good of a player as Isaiah Thomas was, you're not gonna dare say Isaiah Thomas is every bit the player that Michael Jordan was at his peak. You're not about to. Yeah, so people are saying like, oh, this isn't a rivalry because Caitlin's separating herself from Angel. I mean, you can have rivals. Isn't always necessarily like you know the best and the second best record in the league, or like your top two, possible, top two for MVP going at each other. It's I just feel like it's a lot of unnecessary things, and it's a lot of things that are just really kind of polluting the environment as comes to like talking about sports and talking about what's relevant and what's going on. Um, I'm like PSP, like with the whole RG3 Ron Clark thing. I don't think a lot of people were really surprised that was about to happen. I mean, that was basically a powder keg waiting to go up. And then RG3 said what he said about Angel Reese, and just boom, that's it. They already beefing anyway, so it doesn't. It's not going to take much for them to talk about the other, because they already got beef, so it's not going to take much. So I just feel like there's more productive and more healthy conversation that we could be having about the WNBA besides Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, about a foul that, whether Caitlin Clark fans want to hear it or not, in that situation, it's kind of the right call. It's kind of the right call. I mean, yeah, she swatted at her. I get the whole trying to get her to go to the free throw line, but in no way, shape, or form were you hitting the ball. I mean, it was mainly just for Angel Reese's arm. So, the fact that that ref looked at it, reviewed it, and changed it to a flagrant one, it's pretty understandable because, Caitlin in that situation wasn't going for the ball at all. If I'm Ryan Clark about this, I wouldn't have taken the route he took initially, like, going after RG3's wife like that. I mean, come on, man. Everybody know that man married to a white woman. I mean, it's common knowledge. It's not hidden in outer space anymore. We know he's married to a white woman. And I talked about this before. A lot of times with relationships like that, even though a lot of people kind of smile, kind of don't really, they kind of smug at it. But it's like a lot of those relationships materialized and developed over time. Like a lot of times they're with this guy through thick and thin, which is basically like a breath of fresh air when you consider some of the other things that are going on in the world today. But yeah, I think I think a good bit of it is forced too, particularly the Angel Reese hate. I think a lot of it's forced. We get it. Offensively, her game isn't as developed as you hoping it would be, but it's gonna come with time. It's gonna come with time. Um, it's just it's for me the whole thing is just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. And I'm glad Ryan Clark got on the Pivot podcast and really kind of expressed himself and say what he said. Basically, apologizing for the situation. Shouldn't have shouldn't have brought his shouldn't have brought his you know he shouldn't have brought RG3's wife. Or Ryan Clark shouldn't have brought RG3's wife in the conversation. He shouldn't have brought her up. I mean, at the end of the day, it's you two, and you're going after each other. He didn't have to go after his wife like that. Now did she kind of she ain't necessarily left herself in like good graces with a lot of people as far as like some of the actions, some of the things she may have, that she's done. But I mean, at the end of the day, a situation like that, the family's off limits. You can't do that. And Ryan Clark needed to go on his pod and apologize for that, and just kind of explain his thought process, but understand at the end of the day that was not the right move. Um, but I will say this too: I don't like the attention that is brought, like that. I don't like the attention that a lot of fans are bringing to this because a lot of the fans aren't necessarily like I don't know. They're not in it to support the player. It's like they're not in it to support the player. They're in it. They all they really want to witness is the drama and all that other stuff. It gives them an excuse to really like lay in to one of the two. Whether you like or don't like Angel Reese, or whether you like or don't like Caitlin Clark. I mean, a lot of this stuff is really just. I mean, as a society, we need to have conversations, the uncomfortable conversations. We need to do that. Honestly, if you want this country as a whole to really thrive and really get past a lot of this stuff. But yeah, like the social media and everybody talking about this, like they're not helping the situation. If anything, they're just throwing more gas on the fire. So you just really hope eventually, we can get out of this whole situation and really get back to focusing on the WNBA at hand because the WNBA is loaded. They have a lot of really good players. They have a lot of really good teams. Like I hope this is like the first time in a while we see like true WNBA parity because, like I said, I think I got about 5, 6 teams off the top of the dome that have a shot to win a WNBA title this year. But the fact that we're talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese instead of focusing on the play of the players, it's a disservice. It's a disservice to them because ultimately, I get in the short term that that old Eric Bischoff, autobiography, controversy creates cash. I mean, we get that, but at the same time, like you can only do this. You can only go this angle so many times before honestly people are gonna get tired of it and they're not going to want to watch it because they're tired of hearing the news. They're tired, watching Sports Center, stuff like that. Of hearing, this person has snapped again, or this person's done this, or and all this, and just like we just, I don't know. They just need to get to a point where it's just more along the lines of just healthy competition and a healthy rivalry, not this. And you hate it because honestly, when you go back to their days in college, you kind of saw that you kind of saw this coming. You kind of saw this coming, and bringing
Oh, it was
fans.
anticipated. It was
Oh, it was
anticipated.
exactly extremely anticipated. We kind of knew this was coming, but we don't want it to get to a level where it takes away from the WNBA, and then people start watching because they're tired of controversy and they're tired of the drama. It's like, oh, what they gonna talk about? What they gonna talk about it now for? And people eventually will get tired of that because there's no substance behind the style. You need the substance behind the style in order to really take your product to the next level. In this case, you need the gameplay to offset and really cancel out the drama. Otherwise it's not going to do the WNBA any good. Um, but one more thing before we move on. I like just IG post, Twitter, and all just all that. I mean, you like I said, you just hope eventually we can get past this and worry about good basketball. With all due respect to RG3 and Ryan Clark, I'm already tired of hearing about them. I'm already tired of hearing about them. We know they beefing. We know they don't like each other. Brian Clark should have took the approach better, but at the same time, I do look at RG3 and what he said about Angel Reese. I don't like that anymore either because I mean you can't assume someone hates this person or someone's jealous of this person. Now, is Angel Reese a little jealous of Caitlin Clark? I mean, even if she is, I mean, what does it matter in the grand scheme of things? What does it matter? It doesn't. Because ultimately at the end of the day, you still gotta get on the court and you still gotta ball out for your team and help them win. And I don't know. That foul when it happened, I mean, we knew what was coming, we knew what to expect, but I kind of feel like the degree that it's hit is like it's getting to unbearable levels, and it's getting to the point, and it's getting to like the casual fan, they're gonna turn away from the product because they're tired of hearing about it, the drama and all this. They're tired of hearing all about this. Um, so yeah, I mean, really, yeah, really, they really don't have too much more to add to it other than just it's a situation just blown way out of proportion, and I don't like one sector of fans. Something like this gives them an excuse to go out and just talk reckless and be crazy. That's the one thing I don't like about it, because like it's just as a totality taken away from the talent that the WNBA has had, which is obviously some of the best since the inception of the league itself. So hopefully we get back to better grounds and talk about them in like in a healthy fashion, as opposed to like, oh, what did Caitlin Clark do this time, or what did Angel Reese say or do this time? Like eventually we gotta find some type of common ground or just something and just move it away and push it to the side, because at the end of the day, I mean, ultimately, what's going to decide everything is how those girls play on the court. Ultimately, is what we're going to is what's going to decide it. So it really just needs to get to that point to where everybody can kind of move on and be happy with the product that the WNBA is going to give us this year, because the WNBA is going to give us a really really good product this year, and I feel it. But this controversy is gonna bottom everything out if they're not careful. They need to find a way to nip it in the bud. They need to do something with Angel and Caitlyn as far as just you know helping remind fans at the end of the day, yeah, we might have a little thing going between us as far as like the rivalry going back to college, but at the end of the day, there's still a mutual respect. There's still a mutual respect there for the two, knowing what they bring to the table. So that's really really about all I got left to say out of that one. It's just an unfortunate situation that has come to this.
Go ahead, big homie.
You know what? I'm not trying to be that guy, but with the Ryan Clark RG3 situation, you remember when you was a kid, right? And you knew you was kind of on thin ice with one of your parents. You knew you was kind of on
Yeah,
thin ice with your parents, right?
yeah,
And so they kind of looking for something to whoop your ass by. That's what I think about the Ryan Clark RG3 situation. It's just like Ryan Clark was like, I'm waiting on my opportunity to mess this dude up. And it's just like he said that one thing, then boom, dead went. And you got to ask yourself, because they was already beefing before that. They was
No, no,
all,
they were teammates at one point when they used to play at Washington.
yeah.
And speaking of RG3, it goes back. Do you think it goes back to what Rob Parker once said about him on First Take? Remember the controversial comments Rob Parker said about RG3?
Yeah, I remember that. And Rob Parker, I stand by this to this day. He was still out of line for saying that.
He was,
And the
which
thing
he
is,
apologized.
and he did. And the thing is, look, we don't need a lot of that within the community at this point, because guess what? We're all unique. And the thing is, look, there's a lot of guys like RG3. Does that make them less than what we are? No. Just because every guy don't have that edge to him doesn't make you any less of a black man than anybody else. So guess what? I'm not like my brother used to be. And me and him grew up in the same house. So guess what? Does that make me any less black than him? No. Now, RG3 does not do himself any favors with these little milk jokes and stuff like that, because it's just like, bro,
Especially the when he's doing the discussion, champ. Sorry to cut you off, champ. When he's giving his take, you see his wife in the background, and it kind of made me cringe, though. It did.
RG3, look, man, let's just keep it all the way 100. RG3, this is not the first cringy thing that he has done. He's done a lot. Look, from the IG pros to saying, proving all of those blanks wrong on live television, making Steve Young, Ryan Clark, and everybody else cringe. This ain't the first. He's always been cringe. Eating them darn croissants and all of that, and people was getting on to him about that. This ain't the first cringy thing that he did. It just came at a time where everybody was like up in arms about a certain subject that really shouldn't have been a story in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have been a story in the first place. Right now, we have Kiki Ariafrin, who was one of the best power forwards, rookie power forwards coming into the league. She facing off against Asia Wilson. Are we talking about that right about now? No, because we're focused on a foul. And like I said, on First Take, they have not talked about anything WNBA related. Not the Rookie of the Year race, not the Most Improved Player race, not even the fact that the Dallas Wings, with all of the free agent acquisitions that they had, that include Dejanay Carrington, and they have Agumba Wale and Paige Beckers at this point in time. They haven't even talked about the fact, well, maybe there's just too many scorers on this team. They haven't even talked about that fact. So when the controversy die out, are you going to stop talking about the sport? And is it going to be up to content creators like us to keep the story going? Or are you going to do this the right way? There's a right way and a wrong way to do a lot of things. And as far as RG3, the stuff he did has always been a little bit on the cringy side. It's just always been cringy. Like I said, what he did was cringy at a time where everybody was looking for something to say about somebody. And like I said, you have to ask yourself, they was beefing before that even went on. And you heard him talk about it even in the post that he had on his Twitter page about why the beef was on. And so they was beefing beforehand. So like I said, you have to ask yourself this. Like I said, it was kind of like when
I got the tweet right here from Ryan Clark, champ. Yeah. Bruh, you know what it is with me and you. I saved you the entire season on Monday Night Football. I urge people to let you be you. No matter how corny, how bad of a teammate you were, I had your back. What did you do? Invite someone on your show you know I don't fool with to ask questions about me and then hit me weeks later to tell me you're going to challenge one of my takes? You're a phony, bro. One of the worst teammates I ever had, both on the field and in TV. You got to do what you got to do. I didn't attack your wife. I spoke on what you do on social media and TV. Like I said, I met your wife, and she seemed like a lovely lady that was worth more than the color of her skin. You be good, bro.
Again, it's kind of like your mom and dad. You kind of skating on thin ice, and they looking for a reason to put that belt on you. And that whole situation with RG3, him going on his podcast, his own standalone podcast, was Ryan Clark's reason to come into that room and kick down the door and put that belt to him. That was the reason. Like I said, a lot of times when we are beefing with somebody, we looking for a reason to either put our hands on them or air them out like a ceiling fan. Looking for a reason. And you looking to, it's just like, it's kind of like when you see it in action movies. When you got the good guy saying, give me a reason today. Go ahead, make my day today. And it seemed like that's what RG3 did. He made Ryan Clark's day that day. And guess what? That was a day that was made, and he aired them out. And like I said, he was already beefing before. It was just that reason that I need to attack you at this point. Because now you're in my realm. You're within my realm of something that I can talk about. Now I can attack you the way I want to talk about it. You have to ask yourself, was that really the full reason? Was the whole reason why you said what you said Was it because of the Angel Reese foul and things of that nature and what he was saying and all the little milk jokes and stuff like that? Or was you looking for a reason to attack him all along? I think it's the first.
All I'm saying is, champ, this shit better end. This shit better end because I'm getting tired of talking about the whole Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark situation. Other than game and the basketball itself, I don't want to talk about this shit no more because it's getting nauseating. Sooner or later, eventually fans are gonna get tired of it, and then, as to your point, once the controversy is over, what are you going to sell? You still have the talent, but you refuse to do it because to you in your eyes, it's not that important, and it's a damn shame because what more do you need? In order, do y'all need to wear? No, I don't want to say glasses because Champ wearing glasses. I don't want to insult people wearing glasses.
Go ahead.
But do y'all need to wear glasses? Do y'all need to wear something for y'all to watch the game? I mean, look, I haven't watched WNBA basketball as much compared to I used to back in my early days in Haiti, going back to Carol Lawson, the Sacramento, the basketball team, Sue Bird, and all the others. But I'm trying to get back into it now. But Chad, nowadays, like when I talk to my friends about it or even family members, they sleep on it. They sleep on it. Like my brother, as soon as I mentioned the WNBA, allow me to demonstrate. That's how he feels about the WNBA. And it's a damn shame because wait a minute, some of these basketball players, they are good. Now, if you're not a fan of the WNBA, if you don't want to watch the product, that's fine. All right, fine. It's up to you. But I don't think what I'm trying to say is, champ, I think it's going to take a long ass time in order for the WNBA to grow as a brand.
The NBA has so much talent at this point in time in this league. This is how talented these women are. Let's just break it down. The WNBA is so talented at this point that the star of the preseason, which was Deja Kelly on the Las Vegas Aces, she got cut from the team. The WNBA is so talented at this point and so loaded with talent that the Valkyrie, who is an expansion team, they cut 2 of their first round picks this year, and they just went into existence this year. That's how talented you have to be in order to be in that league. Let me say that again. They are this league is so talented that an expansion team, which is the Valkyrie, who sold out their first 3 games of their new WNBA team, they cut 2 of their first round picks and they just went into existence. That's how talented this league is at this point. So guess what? There's a lot of talent to showcase. There's a lot of talent that you can latch on to. Whether it's Asia Wilson, whether it's Caitlin Clark, whether it's Angel Reese, whether it's, Paige Beckers. You have players that aren't even in the WNBA anymore that you latch on to. Everybody wants to see Deja Kelly signed to a team because of how good she played the preseason with the Las Vegas Aces. But they see that it's just a team so stacked right now that she's not going to get that much playing time. Everybody can't wait to see what Hailey Van Lith is going to do. Hailey Van Lith, excuse me. Everybody's waiting to see what Georgia Moore is going to do when she comes back from that injury, and can they be a big 3? These are the subjects you have to talk about in order to plant the seed in everybody's mind. These seeds that are planted in football, basketball, and every other sport, they're not just planted because, they're there. They're planted because we're talking about it. We talk about Dallas as a contender because it's planted in our mind the minute a trade goes down and the fact that everybody's talking about it. We talk about the fact that Pittsburgh may not be that good this year. Why? Because it's planted in our mind by the media. Hey, they may not be good. So those are the seeds that you need to start planting in people's mind. The Rookie of the Year race. Last year, the Rookie of the Year race was a big topic. You mean to tell me with Paige Beckers, one of the highest, a young lady who came from the most touted program in the history of college basketball, won under Coach Gino, who drew over 600,000 in ratings. You mean to tell me that nobody's anxious to see her and Kiki Ariafrin and Sonia Citron competitive in the rookie MVP race? Everybody wants to see that, but the media is not selling it. They want to sell controversy. It's only so long you can live off that controversy before the talent has to kick in. This is your opportunity, especially if Caitlin Clark ends up going through the playoff and playing these teams. That is your opportunity to showcase these players, because the Indiana Fever is on every single game this year on television. Nearly all of their games are on television. This is your opportunity to bring up these other players, to bring up the ones that you would like to showcase. Right now, outside of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, everybody's talking about Asia Wilson because of her shoes, the commercial that she had with Nike, the fact that Barack Obama's daughter directed the commercial. Those are the things that you have to latch on and talk about. The fact that Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces, even before Caitlin Clark came into the league, was selling out all of their home games for 3 consecutive years while they were while they was going to the finals and winning championships. Those are the things that you need to be talking about so that the people on the quote unquote street can come into and they can latch on to it.
Yes. Well said, brother. And also breaking news, Pacers defeated the New York Knicks.
New York, big city and dreams, and everything in New York ain't always what it seems. You might get food if you come from out of town. Oh man, I gotta call my father after this. He hates the Knicks, so I have to call him after the show's over.
114-109 Indiana Pacers. Pascal Siakam.
Spicy P.
15 to 23, 3 from 5 from downtown, 39 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Tyrese Halliburton didn't have the greatest night shooting, 5 of 16, but he did have 11 rebounds, almost had a triple-double, 14, 8, and 11. Naismith, 12 points, 4-7 shooting. Miles Turner, 16 points. Andrew Nembhard, 12 points. It's 2-0 right now, and it's not looking good for New York right now. A lot to be concerned. Now, New York, they are good on the road come postseason, but it's not looking good for Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is probably throwing up right now, and quite honestly, I'm kind of loving it because I can't stand Knicks fans from time to time, man. Hey, listen, man, go New York, go. Hey, you got game 3, game 4, you got to worry about at Indiana. You know that fan base is going to be packed. Mike Epps, who is an Indiana Pacers fan, is going to probably show up to the court. Reggie Miller's going to probably do what he can, even though he's working for TNT. But again, he knows a thing or two about Indiana. So Indiana, that fan base is going to be packed. But fellas, let's move on to the NFL. The tush push play. Thank God it's not bad. Do I like watching it? No, I don't. Because again, the Eagles, they use it so well and it's so effective for them. Plus, remember, champ, the report, NFL proved there's no evidence of any injuries regarding the tush push. And there have been teams, one in particularly your team, the Atlanta Falcons, Raheem Morris has talked about it. The Green Bay Packers have talked about it. But shout out to the great, brilliant, undisputed world champ, as always, as I call him, the young Charles Barkley, because he has humor and he has knowledge. He talked about one specific team that could potentially end the tush push, which is the one Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not just because of Vita Vea, But Desmond Watson, who showed up at Florida's Pro Day, 464 pounds. He says he's now down to 437. Probably be around 370, 380. They could possibly be the team to end the tush push, because when you got those two guys in the interior as the D tackles, no matter how good the offensive line is, that's going to cause problems. I'm glad that the tush push play was not banned, champ. But hey, NFL teams, if you don't like it, then guess what? Maybe you should try doing a little tush push, a little bit QB sneak from time to time, so that way the Philadelphia Eagles can try to find different ways in order for them to win. If you don't like it, if you can't stand it so much, why not try it?
Or stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop it. There's been so many innovations in the NFL over the course of years. You had the 46 defense. Nobody could stop it at first. Dan Marino exposed it, and people started stopping it. The Wildcat for a couple of years, people could not figure that out. People eventually stopped it. The shotgun offense that was invented by Tom Landry, people eventually figured out how to stop that and how to rush that. The West Coast offense, people figured out certain ways in order to do zones in order to neutralize the West Coast offense to a certain extent, I will say. There's been a lot of innovations over the years, a lot of trick plays over the years. And you just had to learn how to stop them. Stop them. And if you don't want, and if you really want the tush push to be neutralized, then do this. Do this one thing. Do this one thing. Force them to be in third or fourth and long situations. That way they got the pass. Can't use the tush push when it's 3rd and 5. Can't use the tush push when it's 4th and 5. Got to stop the run.
Mm-hmm.
And stop making it so where when somebody finds something that's unstoppable, that you want to automatically ban it. Remember, they tried to ban the no huddle offense back when Boomer Esiason and Sam Washington, the Cincinnati Bengals, first brought that up. They was trying to ban that, saying it's unfair competition. And ironically, the main one who was trying to get it banned was the one who used it to go to 4 Super Bowls. God bless him, Marv Levy. So if you find something that is quote unquote unstoppable, everything can be stopped, or you render it helpless. Try to stop it. You trying to get the tush push, man, is, I love to use this analogy, it's like everybody trying to walk Barry Bonds. That is not sportsmanship. That is not competition. That is taking the easy way out. Challenge them. Challenge it. Or look, draft you a Desmond Watson. Draft you a William Refrigerator Perry. Draft you an all-pro like a Ted Washington, a Keith Traylor, a Vince Wilfork, a Richard Seymour, who is from my Georgia Bulldogs, who is a Hall of Famer, by the way. Draft you a Jordan Davis, one of these big guys who eats up space. Haloti Ngata, Mount Cody from Alabama. Draft you one of these space eaters that is going to eat up space in the middle so that it can render the tush push helpless. That one of these defensive line that is not light in the behind that you just can't push around. Because how is the tush push fully effective? Because of the trenches. The Philadelphia Eagles got the best offensive line in the league. Of course, they're going to be able to push. They're going to be able to get the tush push. And a lot of teams' defensive lines don't match up with their offensive line. So get you a big-time space eater like a Ted Washington or Richard Seymour or Vince Wilfork that's going to eat up space in that middle that the offensive line can't necessarily push around. Get you somebody like that and challenge them. And say, you're not going to run that on us. Guess what? You're going to run that tush push and we're going to push your tush right back on your behind. So, yeah, that's what you do. You don't take the easy way out. I'm glad they didn't ban it. Make them stop it. Make them. Don't sit around here and make it easy for these teams. Every time somebody gets to whining and moaning about a play, you want to ban it. No, make them stop it. And if the defense come up with something, because they tried to, because remember Mel Kiper brought that crap up last year, trying to get the safeties high band. Well, that's going to neutralize the quarterback from making long passing. So what? Stop it. Figure out a way to throw it underneath so they can break them out. Figure out the way to make them use the West Welker route, aka the option route. Figure out a way to do it. That's all what football is. Figure it out. There's been a lot of innovation over the course of the years. You mean the West Coast offense wasn't always around? The greatest show on turf just didn't become the greatest show on turf. The greatest show on turf started as the Air Coryell offense in the San Diego Chargers. You have to figure out ways to stop these teams. And if you're not going to do that, and you're going to ban something every time that you don't get your way and you can't stop it, then guess what? We're not going to have an NFL for very long. When I will we? Because the minute something new come out and the team can't stop it, they're going to start talking about banning it. Guess what? If you want to be a sportsman, you want to be competition, okay, you got the tush push. We finna start drafting ourselves some goal line defensive linemen who, when you run that tush push, guess what? We're going to make sure you are returned to sender. That's what you do. You go after undrafted free agency that eats up space so you can make sure that your defensive line on 3rd and 4th down are not pushed around. That's what you do. You don't sit around here, we want it banned. Why? That ain't sportsmanship. Like I said, that's equivalent to them walking bare buns. That ain't no sportsmanship. Be a sport.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, champ.
No, that was all I had to say. My bad. Be a sportsman. Don't take the coward's way out. This is a sport. And then don't take the coward's way out and then complain about, oh, this is not sports anymore. Well, guess what? You're making it that way.
Professor Champ cooking. BRF Sports.
I mean, Champ pretty much hit all the points. I mean, he said what he needed to say. He got it out. But yeah, I mean, y'all. I mean, you really need to and then at the end of the day, you need to come up with a way to try to stop that thing, to stop that play. I mean, it's kind of one. Yeah, I mean, it's one. This right here is like one of these situations. Like, the Eagles have perfected the move, and these teams are kind of like, well, almost like if we can't use it, they can't use it either. Almost kind of like a whataboutism, and it's just lame and it's played out. Like ultimately, ultimately at the end of the day, come up with the right scheme to stop it. Come up with the right methods, like whether it's getting drafting a bigger defensive tackle to warrant playing against the tush push, or just I don't know. I mean, I think they showed a list of like the 10 who voted against the ban, and yeah, I think the most shocking one. I think the Green Bay Packers had voted against the ban, and I think we did a topic about them, not being big fans of it. So that was kind of shocking. But I mean,
I got the top 10 teams right here.
Okay, yeah, the 10 that voted against it.
Here are the following top 10 teams voted against the ban according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. No surprise, the Eagles, the New York Jets, Baltimore Ravens, Detroit Lions, New England Patriots, Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville Jaguars, Miami Dolphins, New Orleans Saints, and Tennessee Titans. These are the following top 10 teams voted against the ban, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter.
Yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, come up with a scheme, get your personnel in order. That way, when you go against the Philadelphia Eagles, if they're in the red zone or they're maybe trying to get a first down, like in the red zone, This play's coming. This play is gonna come, and I think it should be like almost like engraved in everybody's mindset that if you're playing the Philadelphia Eagles, be prepared to face this play if they're on the plus side of the field and they're in the goal to go situation. Be prepared for this. It's gonna come. It's up to it's up to those teams to stop it and make it a non-factor, so we don't even have to go to this discussion. Um, like I said, I think it's a lot of just I don't know. I feel like the whole situation is a lot of hot. It's a lot of hot air to me because I honestly didn't think they were going to ban it. So I mean, it's almost like the teams that wanted it to go. It's kind of like I don't
All
know.
they needed was 24. It says
Yeah,
here
they needed
NFL
24. They needed
votes
24. They needed 24. They got 22.
2.
So yeah, they got 22. So yeah, like I said, just understand your personnel, get the right guys on the defense that can stop it, and just you may have something even then. Like some of these teams, they may when you see the tush push executed, like a lot of these teams are getting in the right play call defensively. They're crowding the line. They're trying to get your pad levels as low as possible. Sometimes you just can't help it. Sometimes I mean sometimes you can't stop it. I mean I think it's gonna be one of these plays that you see that I feel ultimately more teams are really gonna start using it. Because if it's like if the Philadelphia Eagles start pulling this play out and it's basically getting to the point where it's like an automatic 6 points, an automatic touchdown. Come on, man. What the NFL does, I think, better than any other league is the copycat effect. And it's just, oh, they did it first. I'm gonna do it. It worked, so I'm gonna do it. Oh yeah, no, let's use it. It works for them. Why can't we do it? We actually, what I'm saying, like, some of these fans be like, wait, hey, we actually have the personnel to do this, so how come we can't do it? And I don't know. It's just one of those. It's just one of those things. It's one of those things that is not. It's not going away. So you might as well just get ready for it. Um. Yeah. So I think the whole thing was. I think the whole thing was just kind of like a. I don't know. I think made too much of it personally, in my opinion. But we'll see where it goes. I'm personally glad that they didn't ban it. I think honestly with stuff like this, you just need to kind of be creative on the defensive side of the ball, have your personnel in order, and when it comes to knocking, get down and see if you see if you can push it back when they go to execute the play. That's what it should be about at the end of the day. Don't just ban something because you don't like it, or because you don't, or either that or you don't know how to use it. Don't ban it just because of that. Have a legit reason to ban something. And to me, there's really not a legit reason to ban this. I mean, I know they were talking about injuries and stuff like that, but I mean, injuries all in all really didn't result that often off of the tush push. So yeah, that's really all else I got to say about that one, man.
All right, guys. Let's try to keep it real short and quick because we got to get to a lot of other stuff. What are your thoughts about the NFL owners approving the players to play in the 2028 flag football Olympics? Because Champ and I, we discussed this. Could this be potentially the end of the Pro Bowl? Because at this point in time, I mean, look, they should. I think it's time for them to move on from the Pro Bowl activities. It's not what it once was back in the 90s and early thousands. I miss the old Pro Bowl activities. Remember how the quarterbacks, how they used to throw far down the field to see who had the longest pass. The other activities that came along the way with Pro Bowl, they should, if they're gonna keep the Pro Bowl, bring back those types of things. But the flag football, I was listening to Germ on Give Us Sports podcast. Shout out to him. He doesn't like it because again, gold medals, stuff like that. And plus the other thing I don't like it, I mean, even though it's flag football, injuries. You don't want to ruin the risk with injuries because again, anything can happen. So even though it is kind of exciting, but at the same time, do we really need flag football? Like, do we really need that? I mean, we got the USFL, we got the XFL. I mean, we got the WNBA in the summer to look forward to. We got the summer league. There are a lot more other things. We got baseball. We got a lot more other things to talk about. Because we're approaching the summer. We got a lot more things to look forward to in the summer ahead. Y'all, I mean, I know y'all in the South, y'all probably want to go for barbecues and stuff like that. And I don't blame you because when the weather gets warm, ain't nothing good food than good barbecue, especially down in the South. So with the flag football thing, eh, could this be the end of the Pro Bowl though? I do think so. Because at this point, the Pro Bowl is just unwatchable. BRF?
Well, before I get into that, I'm kind of watching SmackDown. They're in Savannah. Breaking news to all the wrestling fans out there: the Wyatt Six are back.
What?
The Wyatt Six are back.
Ew.
Yeah, yeah. There, it's the Street Profits and Fraxium. They had a World Tag Team. They're having a WWE Tag Team Title match, and the match was cooking, and DIY came out to interfere. Motor City Machine Guns stopped them from interfering, and right when it looked like Montez Ford was going for his From the Heavens Frog Splash, boom! Here come the Wyatt Six. So they are back. So yeah, this SmackDown Tag Team division is still it's getting even better because now you got the Wyatt Six. So this will be interesting. Um, as far as the flag football for the 2028 Olympics, um, I don't know. I personally don't have like a big issue. I personally don't have a big issue with it. I mean, I like the fact that we're finally gonna get to see the NFL players on a stage, like the Olympics. Um, I like it. I like that they're finally gonna get a shot to do this. Um, I feel bad. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of feel bad for the rest of the world with the NFL players jumping in on this because I mean the team that you could possibly construct for flag football using the NFL talent is gonna be like one of the greatest All Star teams you've ever seen. Tackle football or flag football, it don't even matter. Um, I don't have really a big deal with it. Yeah, as far as the Pro Bowl, at this point, it's the Pro Bowl is just a the Pro Bowl is just a glorified side event at this point in time. Like just nowhere near the importance or just the fun that the Pro Bowl used to be, like '90s, early 2000s. The Pro Bowl Skills Challenge and the game itself. I mean, yeah, we know the game itself. It won a lot of tackling. It won a lot of tackling in the game, but you know what? It's kind of like with like the NBA All Star game. Like you'll play the third quarters. You the first three quarters out. You play, you have fun, but then when you get to that fourth quarter and you playing and some money on the line, they kind of. I mean, they don't go all out, but as far as the NFL goes, but they understand what's at stake. They understood what's at stake, and they would go out and they would still make a game out of it. And seeing the Pro Bowl and what it is now is disappointing for someone who enjoyed the Pro Bowl, who I thought, who being a Falcons fan, I thought it was like one of the coolest things when one or multiples of our guys got Pro Bowl berths, and now it's just like there, like it don't even matter. I remember when the Pro Bowl really like it meant something when it comes to like a player and building a Hall of Fame resume to get into the Hall of Fame. Like recognition like that matter, and now it's just like it's all just thrown to the wayside. So yeah, I think it's about time to get rid of like Pro Bowl activities as a whole. I think it's about time to get rid of it because I feel like what's the point of having the votes and having Pro Bowl teams if you're not having an all-star game, if you're not having a real game, I feel like what's the point? What's the point of having it? So I think it's definitely about at that point where the NFL should really start considering, and I hate it too, but really consider tanking and getting rid of the Pro Bowl. But yeah, I don't have a problem with flag football being a part of the Olympics coming up in 3 years. I don't have a problem with it, and it's like I said earlier, I'm just glad that we finally get to see the NFL talent get a shot to shine on a platform and a stage like the Olympic Games. Because you would think football would be one of the hardest. Well, you would think tackle football is one of the hardest to do as far as like an event for the Olympics, because it's just a matter of finding how many players are actually good enough around the world to play that sport outside of maybe the U.S. and Canada to really kind of throw their names in the hat and compete. I think flag football does give a little more of a shot for the world to compete with American football players, but yeah, ultimately it's just the pro. I just I don't know. As big as a fan I am of the Pro Bowl, I'm tired of seeing it in the state that it's in. So you either go back to make it the event that it was, or just total it all together. That's how I feel about it.
Oh, sorry, I got distracted, champ. Too busy checking out Lotto. But
That's my guy. That is my guy. Oh shit.
What are
Oh
your
man.
thoughts about the NFL, the Olympics?
I mean, look, man. Look, if we going on a 2-man mission, man, you take Lotto, I take Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? This weight about to come off, so we gonna be in. I'm just joking. I'm just joking for people in TV land. So
No, he's still fantasizing about you, Joy Taylor.
yeah, I mean, hey, hey, man. Look, I'm just gonna be real, man. Just keep it real. That peanut butter skin had you going crazy, but I digress. Look, I think this is as far as look, as far as it goes, as far as flag football in the Olympics, I think that this could be a very, very big thing. I really do. I really think it could be equivalent to what the dream team was to basketball. I really do think that, especially if you're seeing the best players in the NFL play on the flag football levels, and especially if they're committed to it and committed to winning the goal. Not to mention they're already playing a lot of games overseas, excuse me, in New Mexico, in London. I think one is even being played in Germany this year. They're talking about even plans to move to Australia. There have been talks of the Khan family moving the team from Jacksonville to London. There's been a lot of talks about the game going purely international as well. So I think this could be to the NFL what the dream team was to the Olympics back in '92, because it's going to open up a lot of doors for a lot of other kids in other country where soccer has a stronghold in there, where soccer or either baseball has a stronghold, or even basketball has a stronghold, and it's going to give the NFL and tackle football an opportunity to say, okay, let's cut into that real quick. And we've seen a hell of a lot of great international players in the NFL as well. We saw the Nigerian nightmare, Christian Okoye, who didn't play football until he was 20 years old. We saw him break into the NFL and lead the league in rushing in 1989. So the potential is there. I just think that, it needs an opportunity, although it's king in America, to be showcased on the grand stage. And do I think eventually it can go to the Olympic tackle football? Yes. But for now, flag football showcase the NFL and some of its greatest players, and let's see where it goes. And let's see if we can turn the NFL and American football into an international sport.
Mm,
I mean, it is interesting when you bring that up, champ, because you talk about how the players they can travel overseas, teach some of the players in London,
Mm-hmm.
France, Germany, different countries. But the question is, are they going to be willing to travel? Because you're going to have to be willing to travel. you're going to have the resources, which the NFL clearly has.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, money. NFL, no doubt about that, has that. But are
Mm-hmm.
the players willing to come in and actually take the time to teach and educate some of the people in London and France and other countries football? Because again, we've seen the NFL, they've had international football games and they're going to still do more international football games. So from an international standpoint, I think it could work. My concern though is the injuries. Because even though it's flag football, champ, again, God forbid, if an injury occurs, it would hate to ruin the narratives and the things that we want to see for the upcoming season, because we're about a few months away from football season. And if God forbid something happens, which is why if the Olympics in 2028 transpire, which it will, should you also think about considering taking away the preseason? I would hate
Yeah,
to do that because other players, because again, they're trying to compete for that 53-man roster.
I would look. A lot of the starters don't play in those games anyway. Let's just keep it a buck. Those are just to see who's going to make the team as far as the backups are concerned. Let's just be honest with you, and to see how your rookies are.
Right.
But if you really want me to be honest with you, they're only going to take only one or two players from each team can even play on that Olympic team. So it's not like you're going to be just releasing all of your starters or something like that. And injuries is always a possibility even at the Olympics in the NBA. You saw what happened to Paul George that one year, had a devastating injury. So that's
Yeah.
always a possibility. So I don't think that's,
Again, just to keep it
exclusive
in
to one
perspective,
sport.
I don't want to bring up the injury part, but at the same time, you can't rule out that possibility.
You
And
can't.
and if a star player, especially a big time player or any player, gets injured, man, that could change a lot of things for the franchise. It could change their careers and et cetera, et cetera. But to your point, from an international standpoint, it would be great because again, in the NFL, as you talk about it, champ, the king of ratings, this would even add more of a reason for people to be tuned into the NFL as opposed to the NBA and other leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And now we all know they got the Netflix deals. You know, I mean, they're making their big money. They got the Christmas games coming out. We talked about their schedule. So they have a lot of things to look forward to. And if they can pull this off and try to get players from the NFL, the big time players, to come teach and educate players about football, this could be beneficial. And also another thing too, also get some of the old school players to even teach them as well.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to go. You don't necessarily need the new school players to teach you. You have the old school players who are retired or on their way to retire. They could be NFL ambassadors in order to go over there and teach the coaches about, and old school coaches, they could go over there and teach a lot of the foreign players and the foreign citizens how to play football and the concept of American football outside of, pure football, which is football, which is soccer. So
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for not just the present players, but a lot of the past players to go over there, hold training camps, hold camps, become professors in order to teach those games. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And I understand the concern about the injuries, but injuries is always a possibility, especially when you're playing a physical sport like football. Thankfully, it's just like you know, it is flag football, and you're not coming out there and you're not just flatlining somebody in the middle of the field. But at the same time, I understand the injury concerns, but that's always a possibility when you think about any sport, not just football. And like I said, thankfully, you're not playing 4 football games over the course of a week in order to decide who's gonna play for the gold medal game. This is flag. It's not as physical, and you're gonna be able to do a lot more things that you're not able to do in an 11-on-11 situation. But like I said, I think this could be just as big as the Dream Team was to basketball, like it was in 1992. This could be big, especially when you have great ambassadors of this league, like Patrick Mahomes, like Justin Jefferson, guys
Michael
who
Parsons.
Michael Parsons, guys who can reach fans that although you may not watch football, you can latch on to the players. The NFL has a plethora of superstars, and I
And it
think
can also help the players as far as their brand as well.
yes, indeed. So I mean, bringing home gold for the USA for the first time ever in flag football, and you're a pro player, that is big. And they're going to they're going to talk about it on the NFL network, on all the major networks, because it's football. It's a ratings draw. So,
Absolutely.
so it's going to do numbers, and I'm excited to see it.
Well, Michael Parsons did say that he said he would have 5 sacks in one game if Lotto was in the stands. To say so, Michael Parsons, he and I, me and I have a lot in common, but he and Lotto right up there. But Chip, I think it'd be great also if you could actually fly all the way to London and also try to educate the people there about football. They would love to have someone of your presence.
I mean, I would love to teach them about football, the X's and O's, especially my favorite position, that offensive line. So I would love to do something like that, man, and go over the X's and O's. Of course, I need an NFL coach in order to make sure that I know what I'm doing, because I do watch a lot of film and a lot of the plays, but I would love to have a former NFL coach like Mouse Davis, like a Mike Singletary, to help me go over the things, make sure I'm teaching it right. But I love to go over there and teach a lot of our foreign brethren a lot about American football and how exciting it is. And like I said, they know how exciting it is because we've hosted games over in their stadiums, and the crowds were, I mean, you think the crowds over here is rowdy, man. When you watch football, or the WWE for that matter, and it's at a foreign stadium, it is times a million.
Yes.
So I think that would be very, very impressive for football to become a global sport, and for the foreign the foreign nations to bring their talent, to integrate their talent over into the US game. There's already been NFL Europe, but it didn't get a lot of attention. We saw it in Madden briefly, but it fizzled out. The interest kind of fizzled out. But that would be very, very interesting to see how many foreign brethren would love to come over and just switch over to playing football rather than their conventional sports overseas, which is most likely soccer and basketball. And I truly believe this. Once it goes purely international, we'll start seeing even more billions of dollars, and we may even see the potential of $1 billion contract in the NFL if that happens.
Never know. Can't rule out that possibility, but can't wait. All right, fellas. One of my favorite topics on the Sports PSP podcast, babyface heel. Now, for those who may not know what babyface heel means in wrestling terminology, babyface means good guy hero, heel means bad guy villain. A tweener is someone in between babyface or heel. So, me and the panel, we're going to decide based on the athletes or celebrities that I choose as far as babyface or heel is either them. So the first one,
Mm.
BRF will go first. Joel
Mm.
Embiid.
Whoo, I think I got him like in between. I got him as a tweener, like
Okay.
because Joel Embiid is just one of those guys. Like when he's healthy and he's on his game, he's arguably the best player in the league. I mean, when he's healthy and he's on his game, he's up there with Jokic as far as like who's the best center in the league. And I definitely think he's like one of the best players in the league. Like maybe like when he's healthy, like top 5, 6, easy when he's healthy. Um, But yeah, for me, he's a tweener just because of like some of the off the court stuff, like some of the like you can't like the situation at the beginning of last year with the reporter and talking about like his brother and his daughter like that. If I'm not mistaken, both dying, and just randomly bringing him up and talking about him like that, and just some stuff you just don't do, whether they're athletes or not. And he was well within his right to feel the way he did about it and wanted to go at him. He was right for feeling that. I think he falls in the tweener category for me because like he falls in that category with like some I like I said it's part of how he played like his injuries and not always necessarily being on the court too, which sucks and he can't control that. But a lot of people, what people are, they'll see that and be like, oh well, he can't really make himself or elevate him into like one of the greatest players in the league because he's never available. And a lot of people see that and they're just like, man, how are you? You know what I'm saying? How are you this talented? And but yet it's like we hardly see you. It's like we hardly see you on the floor. And then but and some fans I think are they're a little tired of it. Like you're gonna be like trade rumblings and stuff going on in the off season. I'm pretty sure his name's gonna come up eventually at some point if the Philadelphia 76ers stay on the current path that they're on right now, which is right now not being a very good basketball team. So but yeah, for me, Joel Embiid, I say he just falls in between tweener because you're gonna have some that are just like they talk about his style of play, they talk about his injuries, and I guess it annoys him a little bit and everything. But then you gonna have your side that just really just they're gonna support him, they're gonna ride for him, like they're gonna bring up the fact that he's up there with the Lucas, the Giannis. Like they're gonna bring up the fact that talent wise and everything when he's healthy, he's up there. But yeah, for me, Joel Embiid is a tweener. Just I think like it's kind of one of those things where you're like drawing the line there, and you got those that are gonna support him and love him, and you got those that are gonna hate him. So yeah, Joel Embiid for me is a tweener.
I agree, tweener as well. I mean, Joel Embiid is funny. He's laughable, likes to talk trash and stuff. The problem with Joel Embiid is just his conditioning and durability. Had it not been for durability issues, he would have been the number one overall pick coming out of college. Had it not been for durability issues, had he played enough games in 2016, he would have won the Rookie of the Year. The year when Jokic won the MVP, the first year, it looked like Joel Embiid was on pace to win it because the Philadelphia 76ers, they finished that season with the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Had Joel Embiid had played enough games, he would have won the league MVP. But again, the reason why he's also a tweener is because a lot of times Joel Embiid durability, just with his durability, his nutrition or fitness, the reports. Remember, let's talk about Tyrese Maxey. Remember how Tyrese Maxey, according to Shams Charania's report, called out Joel Embiid saying you're being late to everything. Joel Embiid not being professional enough, even though he's been with the Sixers organization for over a decade. They look at the situation with him and Ben Simmons, because when you think of a duo of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, they should have at least been to an NBA Finals or win a championship, and they couldn't even get to not one conference finals appearance. They look at him and James Harden. They look at a lot of other things. So Joel Embiid is a tweener, but I think guys like our guy Broad, shout out to Broad, loves Joel Embiid, plays hard whenever he needs to, and goes from there. Champ.
He's a tweener. And the reason why is like it goes back to something that we said about Ben. It's like, do you love the sport of basketball enough to commit to it, to make sure you're durable? Remember, before he got hurt, he was on record setting pace. He was on pace to break some of Wilt Chamberlain's records this year.
Yeah.
and then you go down, and then you don't handle it well. And then there's these controversies about you and teammates, and there's always been this thing about Philadelphia the past like 10 years. Talk about the process. The process. And we've been waiting for the process to complete itself. And unfortunately, because of the cornerstones of the franchise itself, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, then later on down the line, it was James Harden, Joel Embiid. Then it was Paul George and Joel Embiid. Now it's kind of like you got to complete. Now you had a potential rookie of the year, and you have Tyrese Maxey at this point. And you have to ask yourself, are you going to be durable enough, in shape enough, and furthermore, do you want it enough in order for the process to complete itself? And if the answer is no, then we're going to look back at what a certain reporter said and deem him right. Because if you remember, a certain reporter who we talked about last week talked about Joel Embiid when he first came into this league and how him and Jokic was neck and neck in talent. But in reality, Jokic's name should have been the process, and Joel Embiid's name should have been the Joker. Because although people talk about how Jokic looks, there's no doubt about his commitment to playing basketball. There's no doubt about his durability. And he pretty much shrugs off everything else outside of his hometown and basketball. He's pretty much brusque and agoraphobe outside of anything other than basketball and his homeland. So the thing is, he's a tweener because the thing that we expect, you being drafted that high, when people say respect the process, trust the process, we expect that process to be fulfilled. Especially in a town that is crazy about its sports, like Philadelphia. Especially now that the Phillies are winning in baseball. The Philadelphia Eagles have went to two Super Bowls and won one. And I'm pretty sure the Sixer faithful are thinking, okay, all of these teams are winning. When is it going to be our turn to celebrate on the hardwood? When is it going to be our turn once again? We haven't tasted victory since the great Dr. J. We haven't tasted that championship since the great Dr. J. We haven't had a taste of even having a chance to win it since the great Allen Iverson, 2001 against the Los Angeles Lakers. So that is the reason why we are calling him a tweener at this point. Because how committed are you to finishing the process? Do you want to finish the process, or are we just going to lip babble about it the entire time? And what happens when the process isn't complete? Who are you going to blame? Are you going to be accountable, or are you going to blame everyone else? For that reason, he's a tweener.
Next one, Randy Moss. Champ, you go first.
Oh, man. It depends on what era you catch Randy Moss in. It really depends. Depends on what era you catch him in. If you catch him in some of his early days in Minnesota, heelish, very, very heelish. The celebration in the end zone at Lambeau Field, you know what I'm talking about. The whole position that he had with the police
I play
officer.
when I want to.
Yes, I'll play when I want to. Chris Carter even called him out to a certain extent, even after he retired. And a lot of people, look, I was old enough to remember, a lot of people said after Dennis Green got fired that was the beginning of the end of Randy Moss in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they come to find out they were right. That was the beginning of the end. So yeah. And it depends on which. If you ask me about Minnesota Randy Moss,
Don't forget Oakland.
Yeah, Minnesota, Oakland Randy Moss. Yeah, very, very heelish. Very, very questionable. And remember, he had some character issues coming out of college as well.
Oh yeah.
But if you ask me about New England Patriots, Randy Moss, he was a babyface to the 25th power. He was a model citizen there. And even later in his career, when he was at Tennessee, although he wasn't winning much, and when he went to San Francisco, he was a model citizen. But, in his early days, it was a lot of controversies with Randy. And although, we are far removed from them, you cannot forget them. Like I said, the whole I play when I want to, all of that nonsense, the incident with the police officer, all
Straight
of that.
cash, homie.
So say what?
Straight cash, homie.
Chad, don't forget a game against Washington. It was at Washington and the game wasn't even finished and he walked out of the game.
Yeah, he did the same thing on the Nate Poole play when the Arizona Cardinals got them out of the playoffs when Mike Tice was the coach as well. He walked off the field in. There was a lot of controversies early in his career. But as you went on down the line, you saw that he liked that the reason was that he wasn't winning and it bothered him. But for that reason, yet and still, I have to label him a tweener because sometimes he had a lackluster attitude. And it's just like when he got drafted low and he went as low as he did, as you progressed in his career, people are saying, okay, so that's why he got drafted and he fell in the draft. That's why the Cowboys didn't want to draft him because they didn't want another Michael Irvin on the team.
Imagine, but he did get his revenge on the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, and look, people don't want to talk about this, but I'm gonna say it. You gotta recognize. People have to recognize this right here. Prime time didn't play that game. That was the biggest factor in that game that I don't think people was talking about. Prime was out with, I think, with a foot injury, I think. So Prime didn't play in that game. That was one reason why he was able to get all of those yards. Prime was in that game. That would have been a whole nother story. But he was having trouble with that foot, and guess what? He was out of that game. So, yeah, I give him a lot of credit, but people don't like to acknowledge this. Prime was not in that game. So, yeah, there was some injuries on that Dallas team, and that Dallas team wasn't what it was when he finally got to it. But I digress. And you got to think about this. Early in his career, you had to worry about two other players outside of Randy Moss. People don't like to acknowledge the one. You had to worry about three other ones outside of Moss. Randy Moss was freakish. He was ultimately talented. But the thing is, he did have Chris Carter. He did have Jake Reed. And coming out that backfield was Robert Smith, who was a Pro Bowler. It wasn't just Moss. So the fact that in 98, we was able to neutralize all of that and win and go over on them in the NFC Championship and go to a Super Bowl, that was miraculous. But it was more than just one receiver on that team that you had to worry about. And although Jake Reed is not a Hall of Famer, he was one of the best receivers as far as the slot in the league for at least 3 to 4 years in the mid and late 90s. So, yeah, there was a lot of other guys on that team that you had to worry about as well. Randy Moss put them over the top. So, yeah, you have to think about that as well. It wasn't just people always want to push that narrative. It wasn't just Randy Moss on that team. It was Chris Carter. It was Jake Reed. It was Robert Smith. So you got to take all of those things into account. But as far as Randy Moss is concerned, you got to say a tweener because of some of the things that happened early in his career, the I play when I get ready, the lackluster attitude he had. But at the same time, you saw what a focused Randy Moss can do when he was at his peak in Minnesota and when he was at his peak, in his absolute peak in New England. Of a lackluster, a nonchalant Attitude Moss was a dangerous Moss. But a focused Randy Moss was a super dangerous Randy Moss. And even with him having that attitude, he was a Hall of Famer. So, hey, I have to put him at the tweener at this point. But much love to Randy Moss. You made my childhood very, very special. Me watching you play football. You made my childhood, as well as many other kids that were born in the 90s, special. You made our childhoods very, very special. And every time we looked around, you was being mentioned in rap lyrics. I mean, I never forget Killer Mike. I retribute running like Randy Moss. Everybody wanted to be Randy Moss. Even me, I want to be Randy Moss, even though I was short. I was a lineman. I had a Randy Moss jersey, number 84. Everybody wanted to be like 84. And thank you for making my childhood as well as many others special. But I have to put you at a tweener. But you're still Mr. Moss, though.
BRF.
Yeah, I have him. I have him as a tweener too. But I mean, and I mean, you got to look at all the stages of Randy Moss. You got rookie Minnesota Randy Moss. You know, I mean, of course, we're gonna remember that. Of course, we're gonna remember that Dallas game. 3 catches, 163 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, we ain't gonna forget that one. And I don't think they still to this day have let Jerry Jones live that down. So best believe, he's still gonna hear about that one. But yeah, like where you have like New England or Minnesota Randy Moss, where he was for the most part a model citizen and didn't say nothing too crazy. Then you got like the Randy Moss that was like late in his career in Minnesota, getting ready to go and join the Oakland Raiders. I mean, yeah, just a lot of his actions, just a lot of things that he said, even though he has matured, and you look at where he is now with ESPN and doing the countdown show, doing Sunday NFL countdown.
And also, he went through his own physical. Remember, at one point he had cancer. He was dealing with cancer at the time.
Exactly. If I'm not mistaken, I think his was a form of liver cancer, because like on like one of the episodes of Sunday NFL Countdown, he had the yellow. You could see, if you paid attention, he had the yellow eyes going. So you knew you knew something was going on with him at the time, and it was basically proven to be liver cancer, which is basically like like his eyes doing that is a side effect of showing signs of liver cancer. And but yeah, like I said, he's definitely made himself into more of a straight babyface over the years, being on TV. I mean, the dude literally has an entire segment named after him on that show, showing some of the prettiest catches over defenders that week, and that's the pros, college, and high school. Like you just saw it anywhere. You saw it everywhere. But yeah, like he's had like his highs and lows. And if I had to go with it now, probably he's a tweener for me too. But his image has been greatly repaired, in my opinion, over the last like few years. Like you seeing even Randy's doing NFL countdown, but you see the characteristics, you see the side of him that kind of draws you in and because he's got a magnetism to him, and like guys like that, you want to hang around, you want to be around, you want to feel that vibe, you want to feel that energy. So yeah, later on in his career, and then where he's at now, yeah, he's definitely shown like his baby face side, but everything he did when he was playing, and just so many, rubbed you the wrong way more than one occasion. But like I said, he's worked to repair himself, and shout out to him. Definitely wish him the best as far as like health concerns or his health is. But yeah, I'll have to go. Randy Moss is a tweener for me too.
Yeah, I echo everything as well. Last one, Allen Iverson. Um,
Oh,
I would say Tweener. To me, to me, I love AI. He doesn't get enough credit from a lot of the younger people because they look at how the way the game is played nowadays and how they looked at Iverson back then. Shout out to Casual because he was on Brandon from the Blocks podcast and he made the argument. He didn't say Allen Iverson was the face of the NBA, but he was one of the faces for the NBA on and off the court. On the court because of his heart. Here's a guy listed at 6 feet, buck 65, but he's really more like my size, 5'11, a buck 50-ish. Heart. He personifies what Philadelphia is. Um, again, the reason, and again, from a young guy, he made it cool. I mean, the do-rags, the baggy jeans, the Tims, a lot of cats wanted to be like AI. And also on the court, because remember, rest of the soul, David Stern implemented the dress code back in 2005. But off the court, because of the hip hop, the swag, the persona, the braids. Reason why I get my hair braided and why I wanted to have braids, I wanted to be like AI. I wanted to be cool like him. He was the type of person that everybody wanted to be at that time. And even though them Jordan shoes, them Answers, them Reebok shoes, and of course, let's not forget, champ, you mentioned his rookie year when he crossed MJ. So Allen Iverson, I would say tweener because they bring up all the other controversies with him, the bowling alley incident. Remember, he was granted clemency,
Yeah.
but also remember, champ, he remembered this. Do you remember when he was on Quite Frankly with Stephen A. Smith and how there was one game in particular where fans had the signs that said Allen Iverson, the next MJ, and then they crossed that and put OJ, and then you see the fans wearing the jump suits. And he said, and you can watch it on YouTube, the late great John Thompson, the head coach from Georgetown, told him, if y'all don't take that stuff out, we leaving. So Allen Iverson, on and off the court, guys wanted to be like AI. LeBron, because he was a maverick. The headbands, the sleeves. A lot of guys wear that because of AI. The tats, the braids. People wanted to be like AI on and also off the court. And yeah, Dwayne. Yeah, he was not a good rapper. You didn't have to bring that up. But
he was
You know
he was
what?
damn and people forget he was a damn good quarterback. He was a
yes,
damn good
the
quarterback. Like he was
Newport
really
News
close to choosing the NFL over the NBA.
he was Michael Vick before Mike Vick
Mm-hmm.
because he was that electric, he was that exciting. Even though I say tweener, but to me, he's kind of like a baby face because he was like my childhood hero. You know, shout out to Mama PSP. She got me going back to me growing my hair again, allowing me to have braids. My father wouldn't allow me to do that at that young age. But guys wanted to be like AI. If you listen to Chris Paul, Steph Curry, LeBron, Carmelo, Kobe Russell, he talked about how great AI was. Shaq talked about how great AI was and how they prevented your Lakers champ because they stole game one. The Allen Iverson, that crossover game when he stepped over Tyronn Lue. Remember, he prevented the Lakers from history.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I remember that game because I thought we was gonna go out there and we was gonna thrash them, but you know,
And
Philadelphia
Stephen A.
stole that game.
Yeah, and Stephen A. said it. AI will get you one.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, even though I say tweener, he's kind of like a babyface to me because he was cool on and off the court, even though he had controversies. But heart of a warrior, I mean, he played tough as nails. As little as he was, got back right up, and he just gave people hope. And eventually he became Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players to ever do it. So, champ.
Babyface.
Mm.
Babyface. And mind you, when I was a child, I hated Allen Iverson. I hated Allen Iverson. I did not appreciate Allen Iverson until his career ended. And I realized the impact of the game. I did not buy Allen Iverson shoes until I was a senior in high school after I knew him and the Lakers wasn't going to play each other anymore. Yeah. So I was not a big Allen Iverson fan. I was just going to be real. I was more of the establishment guy. I wasn't anti-establishment. I was more of the establishment guy. Like I told you before, a little bit about my background. My dad used to make me wear ties and suits and stuff to school. He used to make me carry a briefcase. He used to make sure my loafers would shine in order for me to go to school. And mind you, I went to public school. I did not go to private school. He said, this is how you're going to have to dress when you go somewhere. And I adopted that attitude. The way I saw Allen Iverson and all the other stuff, I saw it as unprofessional. Whereas I saw Kobe and all of those guys show up in suits. Whereas I saw Michael Jordan show up in suits. I saw Isaiah Thomas show up in suits and stuff. I looked at that as unprofessional at that time. Like I said, I was in my teens when Allen Iverson was in his peak. But I was on the side of the establishment. When the dress code came out, I had no problem with it. Guess what? My school had a dress code. Guess what? I was wearing my shirt and my pants. I was wearing ties. I was wearing blazers. So guess what? I looked at the way he dressed as unprofessional. I did not appreciate him until he left. The thing is, let's just call it like we see it. Allen Iverson was to the NBA what Stone Cold was to the WWE.
Mm-hmm. He was a maverick.
Maverick and anti-establishment. But the thing is, I call him a babyface because he stayed true to himself. And the public embraced him because of it. They wanted him to change. They wanted him to be buttoned up. They wanted him to be the suit guy. They wanted him to be the guy who stood at the podium without his throwback jerseys on, without his jewelry on, without making a rap album, which was, hey, I have to disagree. I listened to it. It was all right. It was pretty okay. It was better than a lot of other guys that I've heard in the NBA, I will say. But it was okay. But the thing is, I call him a babyface because he was true to himself, and we embraced him we embraced him regardless.
Right.
He didn't have to betray himself. He didn't have to transform himself to the corporate guy. That's like I compare him to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold wasn't the corporate guy that everybody looked at.
That's a great analogy.
Allen Iverson wasn't the corporate guy that everybody looked at and said, hey, this is the corporate guy that we want to wrap our arms around and do all of that. The thing about Reebok, they took the opposite of what Nike did. Remember, when Kobe and all of those guys were part of Nike and all of that, they took the approach of this all-American good look. Remember, Kobe was in these McDonald's commercials playing with the kids out in the park and stuff like that. Hey, are you any good at basketball? Because if you are, remember, we eat McDonald's if we win. That wasn't Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was in his commercials rapping with Jadakiss.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Making mixtapes. And lo and behold, when Mike Vick came out, he became the Allen Iverson of the NFL. So
coincidentally, both of them are from Newport News, Virginia.
Yes, indeed. And look, Allen Iverson, I did not appreciate your career until after you retired. At the beginning, because of how I was raised, the low haircut, the button-up shirts, the penny loafers every time I go to school. If you look at the show, what's that movie? Class Act. I was the guy, Duncan Penderhughes, but the bigger version. I was Duncan Penderhughes. And to me, Allen Iverson was Wade Brown to my Duncan Penderhughes. The only difference between me and Duncan Penderhughes is I played offensive lineman in high school. So that's what Allen Iverson reminded me of. He reminded me of Blade Brown in that movie Class Act. And I used to hate Allen Iverson because of that. And my mom did not like Allen Iverson. Like I said, my mom did not. Ironically, although I hated Allen Iverson, I love Nick Van Exel for some reason. I don't know why. But
that doesn't make that. I was gonna get to that.
Didn't make no damn sense. But
that's a complete contradiction. You even told me you even like Dennis Rodman, and Dennis Rodman
he was a Laker. He was a Laker. So yeah. You
but you loved him when he was on NWO.
Yeah, the NWO. Yeah, but ironically, that's
the wedding dress.
He wore wedding dress. Hey, but look, he was also with Carmen Electra. What do you want me to say? I mean, you dated Carmen.
There's really nothing else to say after that.
You also dated Madonna as well.
I mean, look, hey man, look, Madonna was now you know that's another story. But Madonna back in the day, prime Madonna, yeah. But Allen Iverson was true to himself and true to his family. He was true to his friends. He was true to his mom. His mom was braiding his hair, doing the games. And if you may not have liked him, which I did not during the course of his career. I did not appreciate him until after his career, but I respected him because he stayed true for what he is. It wasn't about the Jordan smiles. It wasn't about being on every McDonald's commercial. It wasn't about portraying this fake image of being the all-American guy or being the company guy, like a lot of us was trying to be. Like I said, like I was trying to be. Like I said, I was going to school trying to do that. Like I said, just like my father taught me. But because he was true to himself, because he was true to saying a lot of things that we were thinking, I respected him for that, although I did not like him. So for Allen Iverson, in my eyes, you will be a baby face, although I did not like you doing your playing career, because I wanted my Lakers to win every championship, and I wanted them, and you cost us a perfect season. And like I said, although I listen to hip hop, like I said, basketball to me, I was raised under the old school guys of, hey, this is how you approach basketball. This is how you do. None of that flash, none of that other stuff. But that's how I was brought up. That's how my father brought me along. When I was playing basketball, wasn't no celebrating. Wasn't none of that Fab Five stuff. You don't do that when I take you to these games. So I didn't like him because of the values that I was raised with, but I respected him because he was true to himself. And the thing is, when you're true to yourself, no matter who you are, the nation can love you or hate you. When you are not a phony, when you are not a faker, and when you are not trying to betray something that you're not, America, as well as everybody else, has no choice but to respect your game and to respect the way that you conduct yourself, because they know you're not BSing them. And there's one thing people hate more than a person that they don't like is a bullshitter. They hate them.
Look no further than Hogan.
My bad.
Look no further than Hogan, but
yeah, but they don't. That's why they hate him, because he's a BSer. They hate him because they found out he's a BSer. And when you're phony and you're a BSer, people hate you. People would rather accept you for what you are, and they say that's just the way he is, than for you to BS them and hide behind a fake facade. And then later on down the line, they figure out, okay, this dude was fake. Allen Iverson was never that. He stayed true to himself this entire career, and everybody respected him for it. And they said it much like I said, much like Stone Cold, or if you watch baseball, Manny Ramirez. They said that's just Manny being Manny. You know, there's a lot of people of Manny just being Manny. So guess what? They would rather embrace you for what you are than for you to try to quote unquote trick them and drawing them in with a fake facade, and it ended up being a lot of BS behind that. So for that reason, because you stayed true to yourself and you had more of an impact on the game than anybody who ever wore a suit was, guess what? I will have to say, although he had some off the field, off the court trouble, I will have to say that Allen Iverson is a babyface. Why? Because he was true to himself. He didn't try to put on a fake facade. In the great words of the late great Jim Brown, if you have an image, you are fake. And I think that Allen Iverson took those words to heart, and I'm glad that he did, because after his career is over and I look back on him, I embraced him even more.
The other thing I want before BRF weighs in, the other thing you brought up, Champ, the tradition and the values, and the reason why I have so much love for AI, because people feel like just because you wear the do-rags, the baggy jeans, all of a sudden you have this perception of being a thug. Meanwhile, while people wear suits and ties, they're great businessmen, but really they're not exactly good. No, am I lying, Champ?
No, but the funniest thing about me wearing them darn suits was, I just put it out there. Shout out to my father. The biggest thing about me wearing them suits to school and stuff like that, and them loafers to school, is me and my dad used to sit around and watch movies like The Godfather, Witness to the Mob, and stuff like that. And he always used to say, they always worried about the guys wearing jerseys, but the true gangsters sitting in there wearing suits just like you is.
Yeah.
This is what my father told me. This is not so. And come to find out, when you look at a lot of things that's going on right now, he wasn't lying. So he said some of the biggest criminals.
Do you remember Ice Cube? Remember how Ice Cube, he never even been on, not one time on Oprah's show.
Yeah.
And he talked about, meanwhile, look at other Hollywood executives and other Hollywood people that wear suits and ties and have a lot of money. But look what they do allegedly behind the scenes.
Yeah. And like I said, it was a lot of contradictions, but he told the truth. And like I said, he said, look, they're worried about these guys. Like, at the same time, my father was telling me, hey, they worried about guys like Allen Iverson who have the jerseys on and stuff like that. But in reality, the biggest gangsters in the world. And if you really look back at history, he wasn't lying. The late great John Gotti, Sammy the Bull, Michael Franzese, all of these guys, Bumpy Johnson, who have the show Godfather Hall. He said the biggest gangsters that we will ever see in this world wear suits, and they worried about these guys in these throwback jerseys on. And hey, if you really look back at the personification and the portrayal of the American mafia and the cartel, ironically, all of those guys wore 3-piece, 4-piece suits. And if you go back to the 20s, everybody wore zoot suits.
And the other thing with Allen Iverson, what I loved about him the most, just because you wear a suit and tie, that doesn't mean you're professional. And just look, we are wearing t-shirts. I'm wearing a Randy Orton t-shirt as we speak. Champ wearing the do-rag and the t-shirt. So is BRF. But the thing is, just because we wear what we want to wear, that doesn't mean we're not professional. It doesn't mean we're not intelligent. I think that's just a myth. And I think it just goes to show you we're much more than what society says about us. Like, I'm happy with the opportunities that I have, like with the long hair, because when I was trying to get into the job process, I was worried, do I have to cut my hair? Do I have my hair in a certain way? And they're like, no, just make sure it's like neat and appropriate, but at the same time, we want you to be you. Allen Iverson just made it cool, made it comfortable for people to just be themselves. To your point, Champ, there was no fake or phony about him. This is me. Either you're going to accept me for me or not. Either way, I'm going to be the person that I want to be. And that's what people loved about AI so much. Early on, I understand, Champ, you came from a different background, different perspective because of how your father, the great Pops Champ, taught you. But as time went on, and once Allen Iverson's career was over, you started to learn how much he meant to people such as myself, such as so many people out in the streets. I mean, he made it cool for dudes in New York, Chicago, Detroit, LA with them outfits. He just made it cool. And his personality and his style, man, he was like he was kind of like the Tupac of the NBA.
Yeah, man, you gotta love it. Like I said, man, I hate that I didn't jump. I hate that I wasn't on that train in my teenage years, and I was so. People think it's a race thing when it comes to that, but
Nah,
trust me, a lot of the old school black men, like my father, they was big on professionalism.
right.
And that's what I was taught, professionalism from a very, very early age. Be on time, show up looking decent. Even when you go out to take out your trash, make sure you have your shoes and your socks on. Make sure you don't walk outside with a do-rag on. Leave that jewelry in the house. Don't take that big old watch nowhere that you have on. Look, when you go to a place, don't take your Walkman nowhere. Leave that stuff at the house. That way can't nobody steal it. That way people can have access to you. That way you're professional. Yeah, people want to talk about culture as if it's a race thing, but you have to understand the old school basketball players, the old school men that we grew up around. They was teaching us that at that point, and it wasn't just a race or an America thing. It was a lot of it. People always want to label it as black and white, but there's really a lot of shades of gray and young and old.
Absolutely. BRF.
Hmm, man, I gotta. He was one of my man. Come on, man. He was one of my favorites growing up, man. I mean, I don't know. I think people. I don't know. I guess with him, people worry about like. I guess they focus on that 2001 season, whatever, where he won league MVP. Everybody focus on that, but I think there's just more to him than that. Um, for me, hmm, yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess he in the middle. He in the middle for me too. I guess so. He in the middle for me too. Um, but I don't know. I just because if I, everybody remember him for the practice. We talking about practice. everybody remember him for that. I mean, but he just more. He's more than that. He's more than that. And I just I guess the attitude, the in your face, just how he was as a player and everything. Everybody didn't like that, but he's on my he if you have like a Mount Rushmore of like most influential players of all time, like for me it's him, it's Mike, it's Steph, and it's really it's Kobe. Like for me, for like a Mount Rushmore of just NBA players as far as influence, that would be my four. Um, but yeah, I just his attitude, his clothing, and all that stuff. Everybody didn't like that, but I don't know. I guess for me, he falls into that category because of that. But honestly, for me, it was. I mean, a guy like him, like a guy like him, you can look up to just because. I mean, just how he played and how he represented himself. I mean, yeah, he wasn't perfect by any stretch, but I mean at the same time he was just cut from a different cloth. But I mean guys like that, undersized, he did everything. He went about everything the right way. So I mean like I don't know. I guess a lot of the hate that he drew back then, I didn't always think was warranted. Which is why I have him as a tweener. But I mean, he. We need guys like him need to get flowers now. Everything they did for the sport, everything, like man, I mean, you can't tell me y'all wasn't growing up playing basketball. Y'all wasn't doing the crossovers. I mean, you can't say you weren't doing the crossovers. I mean, the do rags, the sleeves, just the influence. While all the players just started wearing it after him. So I mean, like I said, he's probably a tweener. Just, for me, he's a tweener just because of the ire he drew. Like I guess if you want to say people being negative about him, but I don't think there's really not a bad thing to say about not really a bad thing to say about AI. But I mean, everybody don't feel the same way. So but yeah, he's in the he. I guess he'd be a tweener from that standpoint too. But honest, I don't think it's a really bad thing you can say about him. And like I said, he's on the Mount Rushmore as far as like guys who's had the most influence in the sport, whether it's play or just that day to day life. NBA back in the days, like the clothes and just everything, and that whole like early 2000s era, like when hip hop was at its peak, and he represented it to the fullest. He represented it the most, and you kind of saw him, and it kind of just it trickled down. It trickled, well, not down. It just trickled into like so many players and just expressing themselves like back in that time frame. So he's in the middle for me too. But yeah, he's like I said, he's just one of those that you know we should be giving him flowers while he's here too, because I don't think he really got him enough.
I don't think so. I think a lot of the younger generation, no disrespect to a lot of the guys in the pod, but they should really pay more attention to Allen Iverson because how the way they look at their guys, their artists, their players, that's how people like myself used to look at Allen Iverson. Go ahead, champ.
I think that a lot of the reason why he doesn't get his flowers is people are not watching the tape. They look too closely at analytics, and analytics is not going to always tell you the story. Jay
Yeah,
Z always says numbers don't lie, but I disagree with that. Numbers don't necessarily lie, but they can be very, very deceptive.
they don't tell the whole story. They could be very
Murky.
mislead, murky, misconstrued, misleading. But man, Allen Iverson. But there's one journalist he despises. He didn't say name, but I think it's someone that Champ would probably turn around and just say next.
Yeah, but like I said, not a lot of people like that young man, and hey, it rightfully so.
Yeah, nobody likes him at this point. All right, but fellas, we got last two topics. Let's try to wrap this up real quick. Favorite Kali moment, I'll go when he made his entrance and how he demolished the Undertaker. And remember how he destroyed the ring buckle?
Oh yeah, good lord.
And then another one that I did watch though, on the silly side, him and Hornswoggle.
Yeah,
But Kali, I loved his matches. The rivalry with him and Undertaker, John Cena. I mean, those were some good matches. The Royal Rumble, which led to him winning the World Heavyweight Championship by eliminating Batista. And there was one other wrestler along with Batista, I forgot. He yes. But Kali, man, freak of nature. 7 feet tall, over 400 pounds, just dominant. So those are my favorite Kali moments. BRF.
Um, and a lot of people don't realize about the great Khali. Like before he hit WWE, when he was in New Japan,
Yeah.
one of the scariest athletes you'll ever see in your life, being his size, but yet jumping over the top rope, entering the ring, could actually run, footwork, just everything. Like he was before like the injuries and everything, and the size really took a toll on him. He's one of the scariest athletes you'll ever see. Like it was freakish. Um, My favorite Khali moment though, I think it's probably one of his like when you think about the intimidation factor of the Great Khali, it was the Rey Mysterio moment where he did the the head crush, that submission for the first time, and like and his head is basically just engulfed. His hands basically engulf Rey Mysterio's head and just making the blood and everything just kind of like you could just see like Rey Mysterio just struggling. Like it's kind of like even though the Undertaker the rivalry the Undertaker really kind of put him on the map. It was like just destruction of like wrestlers, like running through them. But just that image of Ray, like boy, you didn't know how long he was going to be out after that. I mean, that image just kind of sticks out for me with him because it's one of those like between that and him like laying out the Undertaker, like his debut. I mean, just it's. I don't think you could have established him any better than that. Even though the run wasn't necessarily the longest run, I mean, they did a really good job establishing him as a monster heel running through Undertaker. But for me, it was that moment against Rey Mysterio where he did the submission for the first time and basically was crushing that man's skull until he was bleeding out of his mouth. Was just like I mean, just intimidation, domination, just everything about him just screamed like they were getting ready to kind of try to push him to the moon. And then yeah, like you said, he that battle royal on SmackDown where he won the world heavyweight title, really kind of culminated in that. But yeah, for me, just from an aura standpoint, yeah, what he did to Rey Mysterio, yeah, that's probably like my favorite Khali moment.
Champ.
Oh, favorite Khali moment. It's not even inside the ring. It's the longest yard. Him and Bob Sapp.
Oh, when he kicked him.
He broke my nose.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my favorite Khali moment, man. I
He,
like.
he did do really good in that movie though.
Yes, he broke my nose. Like to piggyback off of BRF, and as I always say, BRF, and I don't just be boy spoke. You're one of the most brilliant wrestling minds I've ever been around. Because I was about to bring that up when it was my turn. It's a shame that we didn't get New Japan Pro Wrestling Khali versus what we got in the WWE, because the great Khali that was in New Japan Pro Wrestling, even the finishing move that he had was next level. It wasn't just that one pickup and you just went down. He was sitting down with him, the sit down power bomb right along with him. So he was freakish. He was one of the biggest men that you ever want. It's like if you try to move him, he ain't going nowhere no time soon. I mean, that was special. That was special. But when he first came into the WWE, him demolishing the Undertaker, him not even being pinned. Remember the first year or so, he wasn't even pinned until John Cena beat him in that no holds barred match. Mm-hmm. He wasn't even pinned until then. Because remember, John Cena's first win he got against him was he made him submit in the STFU. So yeah, so he was freakish, man. I hated that those injuries caught up with him. And as Vince has a habit of doing with monster heroes, he made him into a spectacle. And it was on downhill from there, because once a heel is made a spectacle, then it's kind of like that monster that we once feared is kind of made a joke. And now we can't, and now they reduced to like Muppets at a certain point. So I hated that he did it. He should have kept him a monster, because that was his niche. Whenever you make your debut and he was so big, he made the Undertaker and Kane. I mean, Kane was bigger than the Undertaker.
Kane's about 6'8", 330-ish.
Yeah, no, he like 16. He almost like he's 7 feet. He's 7 feet tall, like 350 pounds at his best. But he
Kane?
made Kane look small. He made him look small.
No, I always thought Kane was 6'8". I never thought he was 7 feet tall.
Yeah,
He was
Undertaker.
6. They build him at 6'10".
Yeah, still build him at 6'10". But he made Kane look small.
Oh,
And he got body slammed at WrestleMania by Kane, but unfortunately, he came out on top on that match against Kane. But I hated that we couldn't get the New Japan Pro Wrestling version of the Great Khali, because I really feel like if they could have got that version, it would have been a hell of a lot more better of a run. It was a good run. It was a good run, nevertheless. But I wish it could have been even better if we had that. But when he did turn into a babyface, it was always good to see him kind of dancing around a little bit and being festive, because hey, it's always good when the big man is kind of jolly a little bit, so that way he don't scare everybody. So we brought up that subject before, me and you, BRF, for how us big dudes, when we ain't smiling, the world kind of scared a little bit. So
Right.
so it's always good to see the big man kind of make everybody laugh and be jolly about it.
all right, fellas. One last one. BRF, I'll let you go first because you said you have a catalog. Favorite Ti tracks.
Jesus Christ, man, where do I start? Like I said, he's my favorite hip hop art. He's my favorite rapper of all time. Like I was torn for the longest between like him. It was like, for me, it was like him and Jeezy. But I mean, shit, the Urban Legend album, the King album, the Paper Trail album, the I'm Serious album is underrated. I mean, Ti versus Tip. I mean, good. I mean, look, the albums were just amazing. You Don't Know Me, ASAP, Motivation, Bring Them Out, good little big things popping. Shoot, What You Know About That, Top
Swagger
Back,
Like Us.
Swagger Like Us. Um, I
My
mean, like I
favorite
said,
one from it is Why You Wanna.
why? Oh, I love. Yeah, Why You Want is a great track. It's a great song. Um, Gosh, it's hard. It's hard for me to single out one. Just if I had if I can only have one song of his, if I can only have one, like if I'm riding in the car and I'm just traveling the roads of the great United States of America, and I just need one song of Ti just to ride out. Huh. It's probably gonna shoot. You know what? It's probably gonna be off of his own which album? Probably another good album, the Trouble Man album. Another really
Yeah.
good album. Another good album. I don't know why. Even though it was like later, like it was a more recent song, it stuck to me. But Go Get It off of the Trouble Man album is that's like Atlanta anthem for me. Like I love it, man. I tell you, man. Ti is my guy. Ti is my guy. I got, man. Like I said, I got just about, I'll say, this is what I'll say. The last album that I literally purchased and spent money on, I bought the King album off of Rhapsody, and that's the last album that I literally spent money on and pre-ordered, because this was around the same time the ATL movie came out. So King is literally the last album I spent money on before everything went streaming, and you really didn't have to buy anything no more. You just go to Pandora and click it and listen to it and just stream it and all that stuff. But his King album is the last album I literally spent money on, and this was 2006. So just think about that. That's the last album I spent money on. So just think about that. But that's how good that album was. That album was T.I.'s got at least about 3-4 albums like no skips. So man, I could man, if I'd probably need at least a good hour talking about him. He's like my favorite rapper ever, period. So yeah. He's really got too many for me to single out. Like he's my favorite ever. If I have to pick one, it's probably okay. If I have to pick one, it's probably either gonna be between Go Get It or probably You Don't Know Me. One of those two.
Mm-hmm. Champ.
Since you went mainstream, I'm finna go with the hidden gems, man. T.I. Man, T.I. man. Look, I used to listen to all your stuff when I was in the Army, when I was in the amateurs, when I was boxing. I was in martial arts. I was doing all that. I was bumping T.I. man, the King of the South. I'll never forget when that came out. Remember the leaked mixtape, BRF, Gangsta Grills?
The leaked mixtape? Yes.
Yeah. When he was going at Lil Flip 99 Problems, that one was a good one, bro.
Don't talk to me about the Lil Flip beef. Oh my god! That when he was at the Holiday Bash in Atlanta, when he was at the Holiday Bash and he hit that freestyle on. Oh my god!
Speaking of that, hey, Look What I Got was awesome, man. Shawty, look what I got. Do it, baby, stick it, baby. Hey, man, do you know how many dances I got off that song, man? Back when people
man, I tell people, I'm serious as an underrated album, bro.
What's Your Name? Future and For Real. Yes. Hey, Shawty, what's your name?
Yes.
Look, I'm Serious was definitely one of those tracks. What's Happening? These dudes is robbery. I pray to God it's nothing but a robbery. I believe them all they had. Then they put up a call. Yeah. When he was talking about him going to heaven and, going, yeah. So, look. And I think the hardest verse in the song, he said, my mama always told me I was bad enough to tell hell, look. So that I'm Serious album. I cannot still believe to this day that album flopped.
It flopped.
Yes.
It did. It flopped. It flopped. But if you go back and you listen to a lot of the songs on that album, you wonder how the hell did it flop?
I'm like, man, how did this flop? No, the thing is, I'm like, I was listening to it because I was driving with my older brother, God rest his soul, and we was driving one night. I said, hey, man, when he get that plaque? When he gonna get the plaque? He said, dude, he ain't even on all the Face Records no more. This album flop. I said, what? He was like, yeah, that flop. But Let's Get Away with him and Trina.
Yeah.
That
especially with Jazzy Faye producing.
Yeah. Hey, let's get away. Yeah, that was good, man. Man, T.I., man. That was T.I. special, man. What you know, The Undertaker.
Yeah.
The Young Buck, The Undertaker. You Know Who, You Know What, You Know Well.
Go against the
So, man, let's not forget, man, before Delly came out with Air Force One, remember when T.I. came out on that mixtape, My Air Forces? Everybody remember that, man. So, people talk about the mixtape game, talk about 50 Cent, man. Look, people need to go back and listen to T.I. and that Jacket for Beats, what he did with DJ Drama. When you was in the classroom trying to pick a career, I was counting cash, selling, drinking a beer. I agree this rap bull is so last year, but let's see if I tear a new hole in your here. That dude went in on that Jacket for Beats. Man, go back and listen to it, man. Young men today would never understand the Gangsta Grills era, man. When you got on a Gangsta Grill and T.I. revolutionized it. When you had a Gangsta Grills album, you were, as far as the street was concerned, as far as people who are hardcore hip hop fans and mixtapes fans you made it. And a prominent and T.I. revolutionized the gangster grills. We thought that I think to this day he still had the best gangster grills in history, man. Because that mixtape was something special. Every last one of those mixtapes that T.I. made when he was with DJ Drama, those were classic. And like I said, when you talk about the mixtape game, rapping over everybody's beats and stuff like that, T.I. was doing that even before 50 Cent was. So it's just like I said, man, down south, they love to rob us of credit. I'm just being real. They love to rob us of credit. People don't even understand that the first rap artist that wear a throwback jersey was from down south. So, yeah, you know who that was, right? Big Boy. He was the first one to wear the Houston Astros jersey on a video. But, they don't like to give us credit down south. But, a lot of guys like T.I. paved that way. And he was essentially, I don't know of too many, even of today's rapper can go head to head with T.I.'s bangers, man. T.I. had albums.
It's not too many. It's not too many out there right now that could go with him blow for blow. Like if like a versus battle.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you really look at trap music, if you look at I'm Serious trap music, Urban Legend, and King, all four of those albums, I can literally sit up there with a 4-disc changer back in the day and listen to all four of those albums and not skip.
Man.
That was probably
be easy off of trap music.
Yes, 24s. Look, if you cannot name me outside of maybe Outkast one Southern artist that had a better 4-album run than T.I. I'm serious. Trap music, Urban Legend, then King. And in between that was the Leak mixtape. You cannot name me any Southern artist that had a better 4-album run than T.I.
Not even Ludacris?
Well,
not even Ludacris.
Probably not. I wouldn't even. Yeah, probably not even Ludacris. To be honest with you. And then honestly, with him, I think after King was T.I. versus T.I.P.
Yeah,
because T.I. versus T.I.P. was what was it? It was big things popping. Man, yeah,
so
was that one?
You cannot name. So you can you go to T.I. versus T.I.P. That's a 5-album run of just straight up just bangers on every last one of the CDs that you didn't even want to skip a song because you knew it was great. So, like I said, if you could name me a better Southern artist, and you could even put he had a better 4-album run than Jay-Z. T.I. had a better 4-album run than Jay-Z. If you put those 4 albums against Jay-Z's best 4 album, T.I. comes out on top.
I could not even including I'm Serious. I could probably take trap music. I could take trap music, Urban Legend, King, T.I. versus T.I.P., Paper Trail, and Trouble Man. I could take his best 6 against anybody else's best 6, and I think I'd be pretty good.
Exactly. Nobody had and this is where hip hop had the most competition. This is the era where you had the most competition. You had to compete with Nelly. You had to compete with Ludacris. You had to, and down south, I'm gonna just be real. People underestimate the mixtape game down south because down south you had to compete with guys like Pastor Troy. You had to compete with guys like Criminal Man. You had to compete with guys like Jeezy, who was just one of the hottest things going through the streets at a certain point. You had to compete with guys like that. Back when Trap or Die was going on and he first came out, when Jeezy first came out, when he was on the Snowman album, when he was saying, why play dude can't win, open you up like the mall at 10, then I shut you down like the mall at 9, T.I. was still selling millions of copies.
Why You Wanna? I love Why You Wanna. What You Know, ASAP,
Mm.
Those are Swagger Like Us, Whatever You Like, all them other tracks from T.I., man. Man, I mean, there's some good ones. But you stole Mom Champ, Let's Get Away with him and Trina. I love that one with him and
Yeah.
Trina. But T.I., man, that's why they call him King of the South, man. And we got a lot to talk about for next week's pod. But fellas, BRF, any final words and tell them where to follow you at, man.
As always, it's a pleasure to hop on here and share the spotlight with y'all, man. It's always a pleasure to get on here and talk sports, talk entertainment, talk life with y'all. It's like I said, the ride has been incredible, and come on, man, 105K for UPSP. Congratulations to you, man. Keep it rolling, keep it pumping out, man. I'm to be a part of this with you. I'm proud to see it. I'm proud to see your growth, and I know it's going to keep going. So much success for you, and also the champ. Seeing you kind of get some traction and get some views on your own end, just doing your thing. I'm proud of you as well. Um, but hey, to the followers out there, to everybody to support the channels, we appreciate it. We love the support. BRS Sports is always at the TikTok handle. Y'all go follow that. My link trees in the bio. You can follow my Twitter/X, my IG. We got a Facebook page. And like I said, also got a Discord. Feel free to click the active link there too. We're gonna continue to keep this rolling. Got a lot of stuff happening. Saturday night's main events tomorrow, so that's definitely something that's gonna get talked about on our next episode as well. Hey, yeah, y'all, please go follow that Undisputed Go Sports Podcast. Y'all need to go follow that as well. Follow it on YouTube. We're gonna have a new episode coming up, so y'all definitely be prepared. Y'all come hang with us, come cut up with us, come have some fun. So as I always say, a topic not thought about is a topic not talked about, and we gonna keep this thing rolling. We love y'all. Thank y'all for the support.
Champ?
Oh man, it's always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to be on the Sports PSP podcast. Now at one, we'll take it up 5,000 because it's gonna be there by next week anyway. Now at 110K, we just gonna speak life today. It'll be 5,000 more by next week. So I mean, we just gonna speak life into it. So that's how come we always and when you shoot for the moon, you land amongst the stars, and that's exactly what you've been doing, PSP, man. And I'm darn proud, and I appreciate you not only inviting me on the show every single week and us cut up, and the nation and everybody sees our how we cut up and do our thing, but also influencing myself to get my own podcast and team up with two very, very brilliant men and two damn good fathers in the form of BRF and Flash. So these are great men, and y'all are great men. Y'all are not just podcasters. Y'all are not just guys that just so happen to hop up on the podcast. Y'all are great men of strong moral character and honor. And I respect nobody in this game more than I respect y'all for. And there's no disrespect to nobody else, but it's more than just a podcast. It's a way of life. And I respect the way y'all dedicate yourself, y'all attack everything, and y'all are able to handle y'all business on and off the podcast. So big ups to every last one of you. Please check out the Undisputed GOAT podcast. We're now at 150, not 150K, but 150 subscribers, but 151, I would say. It's always good for progress. Hey, sometimes success is slow rolled, and I'd rather have it slow now than slow later. So, and we're there not just because of one person. We're there because of all three people on the pod, to include Flash, to include BRF, and a person who's on this podcast, Sports PSP, who although he's not on every show, he's always involved. He's always commenting, giving us what we call pipe bombs in order to talk about. So his influence on the Undisputed GOAT podcast go far beyond him influences us to get one. He's a part of it even when he's not there in person, and that's a very, very important thing. So big ups to PSP. You've done a lot for myself and everyone else around. We appreciate it. And look, we appreciate you inviting us on the platform every single week. And man, look, keep doing what you're doing. You have the gift of gab. And hey, man, look, man, I just wish I could grow my hair like yours. Because, as we all know, hey, man, I'm getting old, my hair falling out. So that's why I got my do-rag on it right. So I wish I had your hair. So,
Nothing wrong with what you got, man. But nothing wrong with what you got, man. But always an honor and a pleasure having y'all on the pod. Shout out to Brendan from the block, because again, he was the one who started up the group chat. Without him, none of this would have been possible to be collaborating with y'all. Just shout out to a lot of great people, a lot of great content creators, podcasters, and just fake family and friends for helping me along the ride. Certainly, it's not easy. A lot of work behind the scenes doing the content stuff that we do, also as family men as well. So it's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, it's what gets us through. Once again, happy Memorial's Day. Shout out to our military men and women. Make sure if you see them, thank them for their contributions, their services, and the sacrifices that they've made for us. Without them, none of this would have been possible. Please, everyone, enjoy the rest of y'all Memorial Day weekend. If you're gonna drink, please drink responsibly. Have a good time. Enjoy some good barbecue. Enjoy the rest of the NBA playoffs. Enjoy some WNBA basketball as well. Please be entertained. And if you want more coverage on the WNBA, always follow Undisputed World Champ on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever social media he is on. Please enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Stay safe. And we is